Dear friends in Indonesia, I'm Zhao Feng, the director of China National Silk Museum in Hangzhou. Silk is the core element in our museum. Apart from studying silk, our museum is also committed to the researching and curating exhibitions on the Silk Road. The Silk Road connected Indonesia and China in past, sharing the knowledge, culture, and technology, and so on. And now we are still close neighbors and share the ocean. So finally, I sincerely wish Georgia Museum Expo 2021 a great success.
1759, the British Museum opened its doors, the first national public museum of the world. Open not only to the wealthy and educated, but to all curious and studious people. This anniversary allows us to consider what these first visitors might have seen coming to Montague House. Not a purpose-built museum, but a grand calabash. The museum, as we see it today, came later. The Enlightenment Gallery gives us a sense of what was there. A vast array of objects, including natural history, classical sculpture, books and manuscripts, coins and medals. Objects from across the world. Initially, the objects were based on the founding collection of Sir Hans Sloane. And this is Hans Sloane, scholar, entrepreneur, physician, who was connected with the best minds of his time. In fact, our collection has always been about connecting people. We have thousands of faces from all continents and from all epochs that tell us the story of our shared humanity. Often it is the faces in the collection that excite our visitors most. Faces allow us not only to recognize the glorious variety of individuals throughout the world, but also to connect to our common humanity, even when our history seems so different. To reach back in time, to imagine lost worlds, to empathize and find our place in the world today. We want to share this knowledge, and 258 years on, we have many more opportunities to do so. When we opened, we had around 50 visitors a day. Now 15,000 a day come to the building, and we reach another 500,000 people online. So we're having conversation with many millions of people globally every year. I'm fascinated by the way people want to share their collection with friends and family. Watching them photographing objects and the Great Court, where I'm standing now. A quick glance at the museum Instagram shows you all sorts of photos that people have posted to commemorate and celebrate their visit, often including themselves. So what does the future hold? Our role is to preserve for present and future generations, to encourage them to think about and learn from the past, to enchant and to educate. That was our role in 1759, and it remains so today, for the next 258 years and beyond.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome to the International Museum Seminar held to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Badan Musyawarah Musea Barahmus Yogyakarta and also the Indonesia National Museum Day. Bapak, Ibu, dan seluruh peserta webinar, selamat petang dan selamat datang di International Museum Seminar diselenggarakan untuk memperingati 50 tahun Barahmus Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta berkarya, sekaligus peringatan Hari Museum Nasional. Mengawali acara petang hari ini, perkenankan saya Albert Yuwono sebagai pembawa acara bersama dengan seluruh panitia kegiatan mengucapkan selamat Hari Museum Nasional. Kita berikan tepuk tangan paling meriah, hadirin. Baik, perkenankan terlebih dahulu saya menyapa yang terhormat Direktur Jenderal Kebudayaan, Kementerian Pendidikan, Kebudayaan, Riset, dan Teknologi Republik Indonesia, Bapak Hilmar Farid, dan juga yang kami hormati Ketua Panitia Perayaan 50 Tahun Badan Musyawarah Musea, Gusti Kanjeng Ratu Bendoro, juga kepada Ketua Badan Musyawarah Musea, Bapak Hajar Pamadi, dan tentunya kepada all speakers, seluruh pembicara dan juga peserta webinar hari ini. So ladies and gentlemen, this webinar will discuss the evolution of museum to face the future challenges. We're going to talk about museum branding, rooms organization, digitalization strategies, and many more. Bapak Ibu peserta seminar yang kami hormati, di dalam seminar ini akan dibahas tentang evolusi museum untuk menghadapi perubahan di masa mendatang, antara lain tentang penjenamaan atau branding museum, tata kelola ruang, strategi digitalisasi, dan topik-topik menarik lainnya. Untuk itu pastikan Anda mengikuti seminar ini mulai dari awal hingga paripurna nantinya, dan kita akan berdiskusi tentang museum-museum di Indonesia dan mancanegara. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend my gratitude to all of you. You are joining this seminar, and also we do hope that this seminar will benefit you all. Don't forget to follow our Instagram account at Jogja Museums. Sekali lagi, Instagram account kami di @jogjamuseums to find more information about museum. So, ladies and gentlemen, to start with, we will sing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn on your camera and rise. Bapak Ibu peserta seminar, kita bersama akan menyanyikan lagu kebangsaan Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Hadirin kami mohon menyalakan kamera dan berdiri. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Hadirin kami silakan duduk kembali. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the next agenda, we will have a welcoming speech by the head of BARAHMUS. Hadirin, kita akan menyimak bersama ucapan selamat datang oleh Ketua BARAHMUS. Bapak Hajar Pamadi, kami silakan. Mohon maaf Bapak Hajar, mungkin bisa membuka mikrofonnya terlebih dahulu untuk menyalakan mikrofonnya terlebih dahulu. Ada di, ya baik. Silakan Bapak Hajar Pamadi.
Okay, thank you Mas Albert. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. Welcome to the international webinar organized by the Yogyakarta Museum Association, as called BARAHMUS. This event has had to commemorate the 50th anniversary of BARAHMUS, as well as the launch of the 6th anniversary of the Indonesian Museum. The event was originally planned by the face-to-face meeting, but in the context of COVID-19, pandemic, it was had by online. Hopefully, it doesn't. It doesn't reduce the solemnity of the discussion. This webinar invites speakers from within and outside the country who are competent in their respective fields. Hopefully, we can all take the essence of the become on the basis for the developing museum in Indonesia in the future. For that, I would like to thank to Mr. Daniel Haryo Diningrat as an extraordinary initiator, agile, and responsible. Hopefully, he can be an example for all of us. Here, I would also thanks to Gusti Kanjeng Bendoro, Kanjeng Ratu Bendoro, as a chair of the organizing committee for BARAHMUS 50th anniversary, and also Mr. Bambang Widodo, the chairman of the BARAHMUS period 2018-2023, for inviting us to take a part. I will also express special appreciation to Mr. Hilman Farid as the Director General of Culture and Ministry of Education and Culture for the willingness to open this event. My special greeting to the distinguished speakers. Alexander Green from the British Museum London. We will talk about the Sir Stamford Raffles collection, which tells of civilized views of Java. Carol Kane, thank you very much. She is from National Gallery of Australia in Canbera, who will talk about fairy tale batiks. Also, Yilan Wang, how are you? From China Six Museum, Huangzhou, who will talk about Six Roads online museum project. Also, Ibu Dahlia Kusuma Devi from the Museum of the Asian African Conference, Jakarta, Indonesia, will be talk about the museum for all. Also, Ibu Hartini from Indonesian Plantation Museum. She will explain about management and development of the Indonesian Plantation Museum as his experiences he take as a manager. Ruth Barnes from Yale University Art Gallery, also she is art curator, New Haven, talks about the Indonesian Pacific collection. Francine Brengrief from Volkenkunde Museum Leiden, Netherlands, will talk about Balinese art treasure of the 1940s. Ibu Cindy Handy, also Mbak Yu Cindy, from Museum Gubuk Wayang. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our series of webinars of the afternoon until tonight. As a closing sentence, I want to say greeting, namely Salam Sahabat Museum, means greeting to friends of the museum. And you can answer Museum de Hatiku, or the museum in my heart, by placing your right hand here and your left chest, this like this. Okay. I want to say greeting Salam Sahabat Museum, and then together Museum di Hatiku. Thank you. Please join this webinar until it's finished and have a good time for seminar. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you. Back to Albert.
Thank you so much, Bapak Hajar Pamade, Museum di Hatiku. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the next agenda, and the next speech will be delivered by the committee chair of the 50th anniversary of BARAHMUS. Hari ini kami hormati, selanjutnya kita akan menyimak bersama sambutan Ketua Panitia Perayaan Ulang Tahun BARAHMUS yang ke-50, Gusti Kanjeng Ratu Bendoro. Kami silakan.
Salam sahabat museum, museum di hatiku. Salah satu rangkaian dari acara 50 tahun ulang tahun BARAHMUS, ada juga webinar internasional. Hari ini, tepat di tanggal 12 Agustus 2021, kita juga akan mulai menyelenggarakan webinar seri 1 yang dihadiri 8 narasumber dari internasional dan juga dari dalam negeri. Diskusi-diskusi yang hangat akan kita angkat sebagai tema hari ini. Ada dari Yale University, ada dari Belanda, dari Volkenkunde Museum, dan juga museum dari Indonesia sendiri, dari Medan, dan juga dari Mojokerto. Ikuti terus 2 serial webinar kami yang berada di hari ini, tanggal 12 Agustus, dan di akhir nanti, tanggal 12 Oktober. Ayo kita ikuti, dan jangan lupa untuk bertanya sebanyak-banyaknya, sehingga kita bisa menggali informasi yang lebih lengkap untuk museum-museum kita. Sampai jumpa di webinar kita. Salam Rahayu.
Right, so dear participants, now I would like to give the forum to the Director General for Culture, Ministry of Education and Culture of Republic of Indonesia. Hadirin, selanjutnya kita akan menyimak bersama sambutan Direktorat Jenderal Kebudayaan, Kemenristek Republik Indonesia, Bapak Hilmar Farid. Sekaligus kami mohon nanti Bapak berkenan untuk membuka acara seminar di malam hari ini secara resmi. Kepada yang terhormat Bapak Hilmar Farid, kami silakan. Baik, Bapak Hilmar, kami masih belum. Oke, baik. Silakan, Bapak.
Ya, terima kasih, Mas Albert. Selamat sore, Bapak Ibu sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu dan Rahayu. Yang saya hormati Gusti Bendoro, Ketua Panitia Peringatan 50 Tahun BARAHMUS Jogja, dan juga Ki Bambang Widodo, Ketua Umum BARAHMUS DIY, serta hadirin yang terhormat, dan juga para pembicara di dalam webinar internasional ini. Pertama, tentu apologies that I would like to speak in bahasa Indonesia, but I hope that you... Halo, bisa dengar?
Okay. Ya, bisa Bapak.
Ya. So apologies that I will present my speech in bahasa Indonesia, and but we will continue our discussion later on in English. Pertama, saya menyambut baik tentunya inisiatif untuk menyelenggarakan webinar ini ya, sebagai sebuah momen refleksi. Momen refleksi terhadap sebuah perjalanan yang panjang, 50 tahun untuk BARAHMUS, tapi tentu masih ada banyak yang lebih dari 50 tahun, dan memang pada momen seperti ini ada baiknya kita melihat kembali asal-usul kita, dari mana kita datang, agar lebih baik kita memahami situasi kita sekarang. Ya, dan juga dengan begitu tentunya bisa lebih menentukan langkah kita ke depan. Dan sudah hadir bersama kita di sini para narasumber dari berbagai negara, dan saya lihat ini panelnya seluruhnya perempuan, ini luar biasa. Dan tentu di samping berbicara mengenai sejarah, kita juga akan berdiskusi tentang apa yang kita lakukan di dalam situasi pandemi seperti sekarang ini. Laporan UNESCO beberapa waktu lalu memperlihatkan bahwa ancaman pandemi terhadap institusi kebudayaan, khususnya museum, memang tidak dapat dianggap enteng. Ya. Di beberapa negara ada krisis yang cukup serius, karena untuk pertama kalinya di dalam sejarah modern kita, institusi museum ditutup untuk waktu yang begitu lama di seluruh dunia. Ya, dan sebagian memang sudah mengatakan akan ada kesulitan untuk buka kembali dan beroperasi secara normal. Ya, bahkan ada yang mengklaim bahwa mereka akan tutup untuk selama-lamanya. Ya. Dan di tengah kesulitan seperti ini, ada bermacam inisiatif yang muncul, ya, terutama untuk bagaimana mengoptimalkan penggunaan teknologi digital, sehingga kita bisa tetap menghadirkan koleksi kita kepada publik. Dan di sini saya melihat sudah ada beberapa peserta yang akan berbicara mengenai cara-cara baru, metode yang kreatif dan inovatif, ya, sehingga bisa menghadirkan karya kita kepada publik yang lebih luas. Dan tentu juga saya kira di masa jeda ini kita mendapat kesempatan untuk memperbaiki banyak hal, terutama sistem perlindungan dan pengelolaan koleksi kita, ya, terutama pencatatan, inventarisasi, konservasi, dan hal-hal lain yang biasanya sulit kita lakukan di tengah kesibukan melayani pengunjung. Ya. Belum ada yang tahu kapan pandemi akan berakhir dan apakah kita akan kembali ke keadaan seperti semula di masa mendatang. Jadi tantangannya memang sangat besar untuk seluruh institusi kebudayaan, bukan hanya museum. Dan tentu saya berharap bahwa webinar ini menjadi forum untuk mendiskusikan berbagai gagasan dan juga bayangan di masa mendatang. Dan dengan semangat inilah dan juga seizin semua yang hadir, maka rangkaian webinar internasional dalam rangka 50 tahun BARAHMUS DIY dan juga peringatan Hari Museum Nasional nanti di bulan Oktober, maka rangkaian webinar ini secara resmi dinyatakan dibuka. Terima kasih atas perhatiannya. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi 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 Om Rahayu.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this seminar is divided into two sessions, and each session will have 4 speakers, and they will present their materials respectively, and then followed by Q&A session and the speaker's closing statement. Right, so in the first session, we have 4 speakers. The first one will be Carol Keynes from the National Gallery of Australia, Canbera. And then the second one, we're going to have Ilan Wine from China National Museum, Hangzhou. And the third, we're going to have Alexandra Green from the British Museum, London. And the fourth will be from Indonesia, Ibu Dahlia Kusuma Dewi dari Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika. Bapak dan Ibu boleh bertanya kepada pembicara dengan cara mengetikkan pertanyaan Anda di kolom chat dengan format nama Anda, kemudian pertanyaan nanti ditujukan untuk siapa, baru kemudian pertanyaan Anda. Tentunya akan ada hadiah yang menarik untuk pertanyaan pilihan dari panitia. Nantinya, satu pembicara akan mendapatkan satu pertanyaan, namun jangan khawatir, semua pertanyaan nantinya akan dijawab oleh pembicara melalui FNQ atau question and answer yang akan kami publikasikan secara tertulis setelah acara seminar berakhir. Begitu ya Bapak Ibu ya. Jadi jangan khawatir kalau pertanyaannya tidak terpilih sebagai pertanyaan yang akan dijawab langsung di dalam webinar kali ini. Nanti kami akan publikasikan setelah acara webinar selesai. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the first speaker of the first session. And we have Carol Keynes. She's a senior curator, Art of Asia and the Pacific National Gallery of Australia, Canberra, and she holds a Master of Art History or Curatorship from Australian National University and Master of Applied Science in Materials Conservation from University of Canberra. Before her recent position, now she is a curator of Asian art, National Gallery of Victoria, Melbourne, Australia. We are so lucky right now. We have Carol, and we're going to say hi to Carol. Hi, Carol. How is it going?
Hi, Mas Albert. Lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Everything's good here. Canberra is now in lockdown, so I'm very happy to be able to see all of you on the screen and be at the seminar virtually.
Okay, right. Okay. What time is it now in Australia, Carol?
It's 9 p.m. here in Canberra.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Carol, you ready for your presentation?
I am. Thank you.
All right. So the time is yours.
And I'm the Senior Curator of Asian Art at the National Gallery of Australia in Canberra. I would like to thank the committee of the 50 years golden anniversary of the Museums Association in Yogyakarta, and in particular Daniel Haryodiningrat for inviting me to speak at this conference. I look forward to developing new contacts and sharing a small part of the Indonesian collection of the National Gallery of Australia with you today. I would also like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from the unceded lands of the Aboriginal, Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples, and the traditional custodians of the Canberra region, and to pay my respects to their elders. Today I would like to discuss the 3 batik textiles in the National Collection that are decorated with imagery drawn from European fairy tales. Batiks decorated with fairy tales were popular by the end of the 19th century. As you can see, their imagery is drawn from 3 stories: Thumbelina in the top left, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, lower left, and Little Red Riding Hood in the top right. They were made in Pekalongan in the Javanese North Coast region known as the Pesisir. 2 of them are signed, so we know they were made in the ateliers of Leanne Metzeler, Little Red Riding Hood, and Susanna Elizabeth Bauer, Snow White. They were both Indo-European batik entrepreneurs of Dutch descent. We do not know the source of the 3rd textile, Thumbelina. It has been proposed that it was made in a Peranakan Chinese atelier. The first batik we will look at is a kain sarong or skirt cloth depicting Little Red Riding Hood, known in Dutch as Roodkapje, by Leanne Metzeler, dated around 1905. Differences between elements of the design confirm that it is hand-drawn batik tulis and not stamped batik chap, in which case the same images would be repeated. We can see minor differences between the wolf here. Little Red Riding Hood batiks were very popular and survived in both drawn and stamped versions. The background of the badan, or the body of the batik, is a geometric background or isen pattern named ret saret, meaning fine-tooth comb. Background linear geometric patterns in a herringbone checkerboard or basket weave design are characteristic of fairy tale batiks made in Indo-European workshops. Examples with this style of background are published from the Rudolf G. Smend collection, including another fairy tale batik depicting the story of Cinderella. Each culture has its own language of flowers, known as florography. A flower's meaning, in combination with those of other flowers in a bouquet, could convey nuanced symbolism. Carnations symbolise delicacy in the European language of flowers, and forget-me-nots symbolised fidelity. White lilies, called kerklilies or church lilies in Dutch, were symbols of purity associated with the Virgin. They also signified marital bliss, and so the combination of these flowers in the kapala we see here, symbolising fidelity, marital bliss and purity, may have meant that this sarong was suitable for a new bride. The lower border is a variation on the bow border, which first appeared in the mid-19th century as a development in Indo-European batiks. It resembled the edge of the lacy kabaya or open jacket, which was worn with a sarong, and we can see that displayed in the photo on the right and the detail on the left. In urban centres, European women wore the combination of kabaya and sarong until the 1920s, when it fell out of fashion and was replaced by European dresses or skirts and shirts. Finally, 3 versions of a Little Red Riding Hood batik illustrate similarities and differences in the fairy tale batik genre. These examples are from the collection of the Los Angeles County Museum of Art in the top left, the Tropen Museum Amsterdam in the top right, a private collection in Australia in the lower left, and the National Collection Little Red Riding Hood batik in the lower right. In all 4 textiles, the background pattern is geometric, as we've seen previously. The top 2 examples show the gedekan or bilik pattern, which resembles woven bamboo mats or wall panels. These recessive patterns help to unify the designs without fighting visually with the main images. Now I'd like to move to the next the National Collection. It shows Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and it's made in the workshop of Susanna Elizabeth Bauer, who lived in Indonesia, in Pekalongan from 1880 to 1944. She learnt the batik trade in her mother's atelier and established her own workshop in 1910. The story of Snow White, seen here, is a 19th century German fairy tale that was first published by the Brothers Grimm in 1812 in the first edition of their collection called Grimm's Fairy Tales. The final revision was published in 1854, and it was probably a publication based on this final version that was used as the source material for the batik seen here. Note how the different scenes are separated by floral meanders, possibly, again, European flowers like cornflowers and forget-me-nots. Bowers assigned the upper left of the Kapala. Behind the bird, which is probably a green Javanese peafowl, is a background of diagonal lines formed from square dots. This pattern was characteristic of many Indo-European batiks and was made with a chunting toolis, a bamboo pen that delivered the wax to the cloth, fitted in this case with one or more square-ended spouts. Note the similar fine diagonal dotted lines and flowers on the Kapala of the sarong in the lower right, also from the workshop of Susanna Bowers. The scene position alongside the Kapala, just to the left of the red border, is clearly seen. The next few slides show scenes from the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's interesting that on the batik cloth they're arranged without any regard for the narrative sequence. This may indicate that the intended audience was familiar with the story and would recognise the scenes depicted, or that the wearer, unfamiliar with the narrative, simply saw the images as exotic figures without understanding their context. At the lower left, we see the wicked queen consulting her magic mirror, and details of this motif are seen at the right. The image is in fact repeated on the one batik to indicate the queen's numerous consultations with the mirror. She would ask it, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The queen is jealous of her stepdaughter Snow White, who we see at the left of the image on the left of this slide. The mirror has told the queen that Snow White has become the most beautiful woman in the land, and so the queen tells the soldiers, who we see here next to her, on the right of the slide at the left, on the right of the image at the left of the slide, to fetch the huntsman whom she orders to kill Snow White in the forest. In the centre image here, Snow White on her knees begs the huntsman to spare her life, which he agrees to do. She then wanders alone in the forest and gathers flowers, and that's the image on the right. Consulting her mirror again and realising that Snow White has survived and is living with the seven dwarfs in their cottage in the forest, the queen decides to use magic to kill her. She finally, after several failed attempts, disguises herself as a farmer's wife and offers Snow White a poisoned apple. Here she is at the window of the cottage in the forest, offering the apple to Snow White. Snow White is poisoned by the apple and appears dead, although she is actually in a deep magical sleep. The dwarves, in mourning for their beloved friend, lie her in state on a bed in the forest. Eventually a prince comes by, sees the beautiful Snow White and decides to take her on her bed back to his palace. On the way, one of the men carrying the bed stumbles and the movement dislodges the poisoned apple segment in Snow White's throat, breaking the spell. She awakens and the prince is overjoyed. In the image on the left, we see her kneeling at Snow White's bedside with some of the seven dwarves in attendance. And there's a detail of one of the dwarves in the image on the sarong, probably made in an Arab workshop in Pekalongan, early 20th century. Faces of all the living beings, humans, birds, dogs, and even a horse, depicted in this rural scene have been disguised in some way. Some have been turned into floral-like forms. This feature, as well as the large bouquet of flowers, suggests that the cloth was produced in Pekalongan in one of the many batik workshops run by Indonesian Arabs. In contrast, the figure of Thumbelina on the Kapala of the textile in the National Collection has clearly drawn facial features. This figurative detail and the style of drawing with its energetic line may indicate that the textile in the National Collection was made in a Peranakan Chinese workshop rather than an Arab workshop. To conclude, there are some questions and avenues for future research arising from this current study. Can we establish a concordance of fairy tale batik textiles? I feel this would greatly aid research in the future. I would like to know how these batiks were worn and whether any of them are recorded in photographs. I've seen many photos of batiks being worn, but none of fairy tale batiks being worn. Is it known whether there are any extant children's sarongs with fairy tale patterns? It would seem to me that the subject was particularly suitable for children's wear, but all the published fairy tale batiks I have seen are adult-sized. What occasions were these batiks considered appropriate for? Their informal and very domestic nature would seem to me to make them only suitable for informal domestic occasions. Another question is, were they ever used as decoration in domestic interiors? The composition and the narrative nature of them would seem to me to make them very suitable as hangings within a domestic space. Again, what are the sources of the fairy tale imagery? We know that they were traced from books, posters and prints, but have individual source images been matched to specific batik textiles? What was the purpose of this type of batik design? From reading studies of the Dutch communities in colonial Java, I would think that possibly one of their purposes was the establishment and maintenance of European identity and status through visual human culture and images, and of providing a link to European language and literature for children and a means of initiating and reinforcing the study of Dutch literature and language. I look forward to further discussing the textiles in the National Collection with you, and thank you for listening.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Carol. And we're going to see you again in the question and answer session. All right. So that's really interesting. Our fairy tale batik, Snow White batik. Wow. Oke. Baik, Bapak Ibu, jika Anda memiliki pertanyaan untuk Carol, langsung saja silahkan ketik pertanyaan Anda di chat box dengan format yang sudah ditentukan di dalam chat box. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the next speaker in the first session. We have Ilan Wine. I'm going to read the CV first. So, she's the coordinator of Silk Road Online Museum in China, National Silk Museum, and graduated with MA degree in Museum Studies from New York University. And her bachelor's degree is from Istituto Marangoni in Milan, and she also holds fashion communication and new media degree from Donsua University, Shanghai. We're so lucky we have Ilan here. Hi, Ilan.
Hi, Albert.
Hi, how are you doing?
Great.
Great. Okay, so what time is it now there, Ilan?
It's 7:47 at night in China.
Okay, 7. Okay, so it's not really far, yeah, from Indonesia here. Okay, Ilan, I believe that you are ready for your presentation, right?
Yes, of course.
All right, so the time is yours, Ilan.
Dear friends in Indonesia, I'm Ilan Wan from China National Silk Museum, and I'm also the coordinator of the Silk Road Online Museum project. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Museum Yogyakarta, for organizing this great event. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Daniel Haryodiningrat, for inviting me and giving me this great opportunity to introduce our museum and the Silk Road Online Museum project. I feel very honored. So our museum was built in 1992 and is one of the Class 1 state-level museums in China that specialized in obtaining Silk Road silk collections, hosting exhibitions around the Silk Road, the past and contemporary fashion, and more topics around the Silk Road, around the silk and textiles. The contour of our museum is in the shape of S, which stands for silk. And it consists of the Silk Road Gallery, Sericulture and Weaving Galleries, Conservation Galleries, and so on. And we also have the outdoor gardens in which we planted mulberry trees and also the plants for the nature dyes. And showing the whole process of how the silk was made, from the plants to what we are wearing in the daily life. The conservation technology is one thing that we feel very proud of. Our conservation studio is well equipped and can undertake the technical requirements for the entire process of the conservation and restoration. And so far, we've provided the protection and conservation services for more than 15 museums and cultural institutions around the world. As you can see here, there is the Textile Conservation Gallery, and the visitors on the second floor can observe what the conservators were doing when they are viewing the exhibitions. And the conservators are always busy handling the textiles. We've also planned the exhibitions on the topic of fashion. We've hosted the exhibition Dior by Dior, collaborating with Royal Ontario Museum in Canada, and last year we've exhibited the Balenciaga Shaping Fashion together with Victoria and Albert Museum. Silk Road is another main topic when we're planning exhibitions, and every year we organize at least one giant show around the topic of Silk Road, and here is the list of the Silk Road themed exhibitions that we've been hosting. And last month, we've just opened the exhibition Creation from Creatures, Plants and Animals on the Silk Road. The exhibition shows the artifacts that are excavated along the Silk Road, and it also shows the animals, the plants, and the fruits that are spread along the Silk Road. And if you are careful enough, you can also smell there are a lot of scents among the galleries, and those are the scents of the fruits, the plants, the flowers, and animals. And there are more than 10 scents in the gallery. The Silk Road Week is another big event in our museum. The all-new Silk Road Week event happens every year within the week around June 2022, and to mark and celebrate the anniversary of the Silk Road from Chang'an to Tianshan corridor to be nominated on the UNESCO's World Heritage List. And in this year's Silk Road Week, we've partnered with more than 100 museums around the world. And so it is a very huge event that we hope that the museum worldwide that can celebrate. Above is just a very simple and brief introduction of our museum, and our museum has hosted a lot more exhibitions and events. And if you want to explore more about our museum, you can visit our website or you can visit our museum in Hangzhou in person. Next, I will introduce the Silk Road Online Museum project. This project was initiated by the China National Silk Museum, and our plan is to cooperate with about 40 museums along or relevant to the Silk Road worldwide to put together a platform that consists of 4 major contents. Those are digital collection, digital exhibition, digital knowledge, and online curating. There are 2 main purposes for what we are building the SROM project. The first, we want to better facilitate the cooperation and mutual learning among the Silk Road relevant museums. We want to break the limitations of physical space. pull digital information and resources worldwide together and to promote the Silk Road spirit. And secondly, we want to provide online research and hands-on curating platform for museum and university collection, and to create opportunities for students to learn the whole process of curating and designing exhibitions. Before we reach out to the museums worldwide, we have to decide which museums that we are going to connect to. So we've take the UNESCO's museum along the Silk Road's list as a reference, and also we added two more categories. They are encyclopedic museum that host vast collections of objects related to the Silk Road. For example, the British Museum and the thematic museums with their themes related to the Silk Road. And there are some like the China Maritime Museums and other museums that closely related to the Silk Road. Starting from this February, we've writing letters and inviting museums, reach out with museums worldwide to join our project. And so far, there are 41 museums in 18 countries that join in the strong project, and we've built the collaborative relationship. The structure of the strong website are mainly divided into 4 parts, and I will explain it. The first is the digital collection. The digital collection is a online digital repository of Silk Road relevant objects, and it expands greatly through time, spaces, and mediums, because those are the objects that's shared by our collaborating museums. And the digital exhibition section archived the Silk Road themed exhibitions from museums worldwide, including graphic exhibitions, virtual exhibitions, 3D exhibitions. The graphic exhibitions are mainly presented by pictures and word descriptions on the website, and sometimes they also have videos. The virtual exhibitions, or to say panoramic exhibitions, are the exhibitions that are virtual tools of the physical exhibitions that are already made in the gallery. And the 3D exhibitions are exhibits that are designed in the pre-made 3D online spaces. So the 3D exhibitions, they don't have the real physical exhibitions offline. The third part is the digital knowledge. It is a database of the publication related to the Silk Road, such as the academic books, research papers, cultural reports, published catalog, etc. And this section, we are still developing it, and hope you can see the digital collection section soon. And the last section of the Strong project is the online curating part, and it is a highly interactive platform and a hands-on curating game for both the professionals and amateurs. By using it, the users can choose a ready-made online 3D gallery and select the artifacts from the Strong digital collection, pick the displaying cabinet and tools, and curate a 3D show using hands and imagination. And after curating this show, the users can also share the link to their friends, and or it can be graded by a teacher using in the university. So those are mainly the 4 parts of the Silk Road Online Museum. And thank you for your time and attention. Bye-bye.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that was the presentation from our second speaker for the first session, Elon Wine. All right, so to make sure if you have any questions, just type your question in the chat box. Baik, Bapak Ibu peserta webinar, pastikan jika Anda memiliki pertanyaan, segera ketik pertanyaan Anda di kolom chat box supaya tidak lupa ya Bapak Ibu ya, langsung jangan lupa ditujukan untuk pembicara kedua. Baik, kini kita akan menuju ke pembicara ketiga di sesi yang pertama. So ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to move to the third speaker for the first session, Alexandra Green. So she is Henry Skin's book curator for the Southeast Asia at the British Museum. She has her doctoral degree in the Southeast Asian art history from the School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London. She has written and edited numerous articles and books on many topics, including an exhibition and catalog of Sir Stamford Raffles for the Asian Civilization Museum in Singapore and the British Museum. We're so lucky we have her right now. Hello, Alexandra.
Hello.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for having me.
All right. Okay. It's an honor. Is it very late at night right now there?
No, I'm lucky. It's only 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, so we're faster. Thank you. And I guess you're ready for the presentation. And now the time is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Alexandra Green, and I'm the curator for Southeast Asia at the British Museum. And this evening, I'm going to be talking about the Raffles collection at the British Museum. This is material that Stamford Raffles collected during his time on Java between 1811 and 1816. The title of my talk is Sir Stamford Raffles, Views of Java. In this presentation, I'm going to explore the shape of Raffles' collections at the British Museum. And in particular, I will look at the relationship between the Javanese materials that Raffles collected and contemporary ideas in Britain and Europe to reveal the specific beliefs and ambitions that Raffles held. Thomas Stamford Raffles was born on board a ship near Jamaica in July 1781. The family was of modest means, and he began work as a clerk at the East India Company at the age of 14. In 1805, he traveled to Penang as assistant secretary to the governor there. He contributed substantially to the expedition against Java in 1811, and his patron, Lord Minto, established him as lieutenant governor of the island, a position that Raffles held until 1816. At the end of his time in Java, he returned to Britain. While he was in Britain, in 1816 to 1817, he published a 2-volume book entitled The History of Java. And he received a knighthood in response. This was given by the Prince Regent, the future King George IV, in response. The British Museum holds more than 2,000 objects associated with Raffles. The majority, nearly 1,500, are from the Indonesian island of Java, primarily collected during that British interregnum when Raffles was lieutenant governor. The Javanese collections comprise more than 360 drawings of ancient Hindu Buddhist sites on Java, over 100 Hindu Buddhist sculptures in metal, a few examples in stone, more than 360 shadow puppets, over 130 masks, 44 wayang klitik, and 46 wayang kucil gilig. There are also models and Chris ritual daggers. We also have some records of what Raffles lost when the ship that was to take him back to Britain in 1824 burned and sank 50 miles off the coast of Bengkulu, Sumatra, in February 1824. This is an image of the fire on the Fame and the people escaping. But I would like to go back to the Raffles collections at the British Museum. Why did Raffles collect what he did? Why do the collections have this type of shape? I would like to argue that we can start to answer these questions by understanding in his writings, as well as the ideas circulating in Europe at the time. In his History of Java, Raffles argued that the Javanese were a civilized people who had the potential to benefit from colonial rule. Raffles collected objects that he felt illustrated the most refined, the most civilized elements of Javanese culture. His ideas for an advanced civilization were based on typical European standards of the time. Additionally, it can be argued that Raffles was interested in the information that objects could provide rather than appreciating the aesthetic qualities. The objects instead demonstrate that Raffles chose items that were exotic by European standards, but which could be considered to indicate civilization, particularly national history, according to European standards. In the remainder of my talk, I have divided Raffles' collections into 4 main groups. Those associated with rank and status in European minds, Hindu-Buddhist material, Javanese theatrical objects, and profit. I will explore the reasons that Raffles collected each group in turn. In their writings about Java, Europeans often mentioned clothing and accoutrements that indicated rank and status or were valuable in their own eyes, such as diamond buttons and gold jewelry. Yet such items do not form a majority in Raffles' collections. There are no gold or silver objects collected by Raffles in the British Museum, British Library, or Royal Asiatic Society. And the location of the Javanese women's gold ornaments mentioned in the 1816 customs lists is now unknown. In the Royal Collection Trust, however, there are 7 Chris daggers and sheaths, 1 sword and scabbard, and a spear, all with elaborate designs in gold, silver, and gems. These objects are in the Royal Collection Trust because in 1817, Raffles gave them to the Prince Regent, who was a weapons enthusiast. Although the 16 Carisses in the British Museum are mostly well-made and handsome, they are not as indicative of wealth and status according to European standards. The fact that Raffles kept these Chris and gifted his gold and gem encrusted examples suggests the latter were viewed as a means to promote himself. Chris were exotic in Britain, and they could function as gifts to superiors, an important part of social and political interactions at the time. This is a large drawing done before Raffles arrived on Java by the Dutch draftsman H.C. Cornelius. It shows Candi Arjuna, also on the Dieng Plateau, in three ways of drawing it. But this last illustration is an invention by the artist because the building was in ruins when Cornelius drew it in 1807, and you can see from the roof structure that this is a European invention. This is not a superstructure that you would find in Southeast Asia and not in Java. We also, with some of the sculptural drawings, we also see that the Europeans really did not understand what they were looking at. So in the case of the Candi Arjuna, we can see that the artist has invented what he could not see. In this case, they could see the image, but they found it difficult to understand. This is an image of the sun god Surya, but instead of being in a Southeast Asian style chariot, he is in a European style chariot with the trappings on the horses also being in European style. Because Europeans considered the ancient stone buildings and imagery to be Java's cultural high point, the fact that the structures were in ruins demonstrated to them that the present was in a state of decline. Yet the evidence of a high point, according to European standards, of course, suggested that the decline could be reversed. By collecting antiquities and showing Javanese monuments in a state of decay, Raffles argued that the Javanese were a once great civilization that had the potential to be re-civilized as a British colony. Yet other than the drawings, and also some small metal sculptures, Raffles collected little Hindu Buddhist material. A factor of collecting that is not usually considered is the issue of ease of transport. And I suggest this is precisely what encouraged the collection of drawings and small, lightweight objects. Nearly half of Raffles' collection of drawings at the British Museum depicts stone sculptures from Central and Eastern Java. While Raffles took a few stone sculptures for himself, there are 5 in the British Museum, and sent some large sculptures abroad as gifts to individuals and museums, he mostly collected drawings of sculptures because they were easily transportable. This also explains why Raffles collected so many small bronze sculptures, and there are very few drawings of bronze sculptures because he was able to collect the actual object itself. Bronze, silver, and gold religious sculptures were produced on Java from approximately 600 to 1500. Raffles brought back more than 100 small metal objects because he collected groups of materials, and these pieces were easily portable. Most were Buddhist deities, as seen here with the Buddhist Vairojana, but a very few were Hindu. Small metal objects that he could not collect were reproduced in drawings, of which the British Museum holds 3, making figures again, small metal figures again, in the late 1700s or early 1800s as they became aware of European interest. Raffles' theatrical collections are particularly large, comprising more than 360 shadow puppets, 44 flat wooden puppets, Wayang 46 Wayang Krucil Gilig, 130 Wayang Topeng, and over 55 full-sized or model gamelan instruments. The masks primarily originated in Central Java, but there are also examples from Cirebon on the north coast, and possibly some examples from Eastern Java. Most look like they were unused, and in some cases the carving is quite rough. It may be that Raffles commissioned them to be made for him. You can see here an image of the character Rangalawe, and here is the clown Jurude. The Wayang Kulit puppets come from Cirebon and Central Java, possibly the Kartasura area, as suggested by some Javanese scholars. This is a comic character, Garuluk, and we see here a sacred puppet of Bhima. The style of these suggests that many were produced in Cirebon, and also, as I said, probably from the courts of Kartasura, of Surakarta, pardon me. The Wayang Klitik are also from Central and Eastern Java. And we see here, these were all labeled, and they're all missing their rods because they were sawn off, possibly as part of the process of transporting them back to Britain. And this is Ajar Pamengar from the Damarwulan narratives. And the British Museum also holds these Wayang Krucil Gilig, possibly from the Surakarta ports, possibly that of Mancanegara. This is a character, Sabda Palon, also from the Damarwulan narratives. And this is the largest group, though no complete gamelan orchestra is found at the British Museum. So this grouping with the red and black and gold and animal decoration, there are only 6 examples. Raffles did not collect wayang beber and wayang golek. So the British Museum does not have any of those in its collection. So why did Raffles collect this material? From his writings, it is possible to see a main reason for the theatrical collections. Raffles connected Javanese poetry, music, and theater with European-style national history, all important aspects of European ideas about civilization. He thought that the different types of theater linked with different historical time periods. Wayang Purwa, Wayang Gedog, and Wayang Klitik were all representations of Javanese history. The reign of Pariksit, the grandson of Arjuna, the end of his reign until the start of the kingdom of Pajajaran, and from Pajajaran to the end of the Majapahit Empire. For Raffles, the theater was also associated with the upper classes of society. Shows were partially performed in the Kawi language, which Raffles defined as Java's classic language, distinct from others on the island and very ancient. And he wrote that Kawi indicated that the Javanese were once an advanced civilization. As a result, Raffles viewed the theater as good and showing a high level of civilization, and therefore he collected this material. In conclusion, while there has been considerable interest in Raffles' collections for the information that they can provide about early Java and natural history in island Southeast Asia, they also indicate which contemporary European ideas and concepts that Raffles believed in. Raffles was also committed to both British mercantilism and imperial expansion for the benefit of, in his opinion, for the benefit of the colonized people, thinking that Java could attain its full agricultural and commercial potential under the British. Yet he was very concerned with his mission to make Java civilized by European standards. Through collecting, Raffles attempted to demonstrate that the British could help recover Java's lost past and thereby improve the future. The objects lent physical substance to his racist categorization of Java as relatively civilized, due to its history in the form of stone monuments and sculpture, and its contemporary engagement with that history in the theater. His collections were thus gathered as evidence to validate his beliefs and to promote himself as a scholar and colonial administrator. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alexandra Green. Okay, I can see that a lot of question in the chat box. Dan Bapak Ibu, Anda boleh bertanya menggunakan bahasa Indonesia ataupun bahasa Inggris karena nanti tim kami akan menerjemahkan untuk para pembicara yang berasal dari mancanegara. Begitu ya. Baik, from England, we're going to go to Bandung. Dari UK kita akan menuju ke Bandung, kita akan bertemu dengan pembicara keempat di sesi yang pertama, yaitu beliau adalah Ibu Dahlia Kusuma Dewi. Ibu Dahlia Kusuma Dewi adalah Kepala UPT Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika, lulusan Australian National University, Canbera, Australia dalam Master of International Affairs. Beliau memperoleh gelar sarjana ilmu komunikasi dari Universitas Airlangga, dan beliau juga sebagai diplomat ahli media, counselor di Kedutaan Besar Indonesia di Malaysia, juga berperan sebagai diplomat Second Secretary Attaché pada Direktorat Kerjasama Ditjen Kerjasama ASEAN, Divisi Politik dan Penerangan Sosial Budaya Kedutaan Besar di Kairo, Mesir, dan juga Attaché Perwakilan Tetap Republik Indonesia untuk PBB di Wina, Austria. Baik, dan sudah bergabung bersama dengan kita di sini Ibu Dahlia Kusuma Dewi. Selamat malam, Ibu.
Selamat malam, Mas Albert. Apa kabar semuanya?
Luar biasa. Saya suka semangat Ibu nih ya. Dari Bandung ini ya, Bu ya?
Ya, live from Bandung kami.
Oke. Baik, sudah siap ya Ibu ya?
Ya, terima kasih. Terima kasih.
Baik, Ibu Dahlia, the time is yours.
Thank you.
Bandung sebagai tempat berdirinya Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika yang senantiasa mengobarkan semangat perdamaian untuk dunia. Dalam kurun waktu 4 dekade sejak dilaksanakannya Konferensi Asia Afrika pada tahun 1955 yang mempertemukan bangsa-bangsa kulit berwarna Saat ini, Bandung mengalami banyak perubahan, baik sosial culture maupun infrastruktur kota. Satu yang tidak akan pernah berubah dari Bandung dulu, saat ini, dan masa yang akan datang adalah semangat Bandung yang akan terus menyala. Berdirinya Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika di Bandung adalah bagian dari upaya untuk menjaga, merawat, dan memelihara semangat Bandung yang lahir pada saat Konferensi Asia Afrika pada tahun 1955 agar apinya tetap menyala untuk perdamaian dunia. Tahun 2005 menjadi titik balik keberadaan Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika dalam 25 tahun sejak berdirinya. Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika bertransformasi menjadi lebih baik lagi dari sebelumnya. Tidak hanya fokus dan berorientasi pada aset-aset koleksi analog yang dimilikinya selama ini. Melalui digitalisasi aset koleksi, Museum KAA merespon perubahan zaman saat ini. Dan dalam keberadaannya, karakteristik museum bertransformasi menjadi terbuka untuk publik sebagai bagian dari merawat semangat perjuangan bangsa-bangsa Asia Afrika dalam memperjuangkan kemerdekaan, revitalizing the Bandung Spirit. Lahirnya sahabat Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika tahun 2011 semakin menegaskan posisi dan karakteristik Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika yang terbuka untuk publik. Museum menjadi inkubator untuk para sahabat museum dan masyarakat umum untuk belajar, menggali potensi, menjaga, dan mempromosikan nilai-nilai KAA, kemerdekaan, peaceful coexistence, dan solidaritas yang masih relevan hingga saat ini di tengah-tengah masyarakat. Dengan adanya Museum KAA, maka nilai KAA dan semangat Bandung akan tetap terjaga utuh untuk saat ini dan masa yang akan datang. 2011 setelah lahirnya sahabat Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika, eksistensi Museum KAA semakin menguatkan karakteristiknya sebagai museum yang bersahabat yang merespon partisipatori publik dan menegaskan keberadaan museum untuk semua. Inovasi-inovasi lahir dengan adanya keterlibatan sahabat Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika dengan berbagai program-program unggulannya, di antaranya Bandung Historical Study Games, Night at the Museum, dan yang lainnya. Adalah gelombang kedua gerakan mahasiswa-mahasiswa 50 negara Asia Afrika yang tergabung dalam pelaksanaan Asian African Students Conference yang melahirkan final communique mengenai 6 hal penting. Selain itu, melahirkan Forum Studi Asia Afrika atau Asian African Study Forum.
So the Museum of Asia Africa Conference, what is it? It's a unique place. It's one of those buildings in Indonesia that I feel is a place of sanctity, a place where decisions were made, a place where lives were restored, a place where individual lives and countries gain freedom.
Museum Asia Afrika seperti ini itu harus kita ya, jadi harus kita jaga baik ya, dan saya minta dari pemerintah Indonesia dan pemerintah negara lain-lain yang Asia Afrika untuk jaga Museum Asia Afrika sebagai root kita.
Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika atau MKAA berada di bawah naungan Direktorat Jenderal Informasi dan Diplomasi Publik Kementerian Luar Negeri. Merupakan museum bertema peristiwa sejarah, yaitu Konferensi Asia Afrika tahun 1955. Alasan mengapa MKAA ini didirikan ialah karena Konferensi Asia Afrika merupakan perhelatan internasional terbesar yang dituan rumai Indonesia di kala itu dan menghasilkan satu jejak luar biasa, yaitu kebangkitan bangsa-bangsa terjajah di kawasan Asia Afrika untuk berjuang memperoleh kemerdekaan. Kalau boleh saya ibaratkan sebagai tonggak aktualisasi bangsa-bangsa di Asia dan Afrika untuk menunjukkan eksistensi diri, berdiri di atas kaki sendiri, dan membebaskan diri dari dua kekuatan dunia pada saat itu. Dan hasil dari konferensi inilah yang kita kenal dengan Dasar Sila Bandung atau Semangat Bandung. Konferensi Asia Afrika ini kemudian menjadi embrio bagi lahirnya gerakan non-blok, gerakan bangsa-bangsa yang memiliki posisinya secara mandiri, tidak bergantung atau memihak pada kekuatan super manapun. Dan ini juga yang hingga sekarang dan juga seterusnya akan menjadi jiwa politik luar negeri Indonesia, yaitu bebas dan aktif. Maka dari itu, penting didirikan Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika ini untuk terus melestarikan nilai-nilai Dasar Sila Bandung yang tetap relevan sampai sekarang dan terus menjiwai politik luar negeri Indonesia yang bebas dan aktif. Dari 10 nilai di dalam Dasar Sila Bandung dapat disimpulkan dalam 4 nilai utama, yaitu penghormatan terhadap kedaulatan dan kemerdekaan bangsa-bangsa di dunia, hidup berdampingan secara damai, kesetaraan, dan kerjasama internasional. Dan sebagai sebuah museum yang melestarikan nilai-nilai tidak hanya untuk bangsa Indonesia, tetapi juga untuk masyarakat dunia, maka misi kami adalah mengembangkan MKAA menjadi museum bertaraf internasional dengan pengelolaan yang profesional. MKAA sebagai wadah pelestarian nilai-nilai Dasar Sila Bandung dan juga edukasi bagi masyarakat memiliki beberapa ruang publik untuk dapat dikunjungi dan dieksplorasi, seperti ruang pameran utama, ruang audiovisual, perpustakaan, serta aula atau ruang utama gedung Merdeka. MKAA juga menerapkan konsep yang mengedepankan public participatory, di mana MKAA menjadi wadah bagi pengembangan berbagai komunitas masyarakat, mulai dari masyarakat literasi, jurnalistik, kelompok musik, dan sebagainya yang tergabung dalam komunitas sahabat MKAA. Di sini kami menyediakan ruang untuk sekretariat sahabat MKAA dan juga ruang galeri untuk tempat berlatih, berdiskusi, belajar, bersilaturahim, dan sebagainya bagi komunitas sahabat MKAA. Menjadi ruang publik yang menyenangkan adalah menjadi salah satu tujuan kami, karena jiwa MKAA tidak lepas dari masyarakat, sehingga masyarakat juga yang tentunya akan bisa ikut memajukan MKAA. Sudah cukup banyak penghargaan yang kami peroleh, seperti penghargaan Museum Menyenangkan pada tahun 2015 dan 2017, Museum Bersahabat pada tahun 2016, Top 40 Inovasi Pelayanan Publik Terbaik se-Indonesia melalui inovasi jalur pentul Sahabat MKAA tahun 2018, serta penghargaan Zona Integritas Wilayah Bebas Korupsi pada tahun 2019. Dan setelah ini kami akan maju sebagai Zona Integritas Wilayah Birokrasi Bersih Melayani. Merespon kondisi pandemi global saat ini, MKAA mengembangkan pelayanan berbasis digital, seperti pengembangan virtual tour museum, pelayanan kunjungan dari, online talk show melalui media sosial, dan pengembangan e-library, yang mana pelayanan berbasis digital ini dapat diikuti dan diakses oleh khalayak yang lebih luas, tidak hanya di dalam negeri, tetapi juga di luar negeri. MKAA adalah museum untuk semua. Kami mengajak seluruh lapisan masyarakat, baik di dalam negeri maupun di luar negeri, untuk bersama-sama dengan MKAA melestarikan Dasar Sila Bandung agar api semangat Bandung terus berkobar. Salam museum, museum di hatiku.
Baik, salam museum, museum di hatiku. Baik Bapak Ibu, dear participants, kita baru saja menyaksikan presentasi dari pembicara yang keempat. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, that was the last speaker for the first session. Okay, there will be another session or the second session. But now we are in the question and answer session. Okay, so we're going to have 4 speakers: Carol Keynes, Ilan Wine, Alexander Green, and also Ibu Dahlia Kusumadewi. And we have the question first for Carol Keynes, National Gallery of Australia, Canberra. Okay, so we're going to show the question. Okay. I think we have to have Carol. Francine is still for the second session. Sorry. Okay. This one. Okay. Hello, Carol.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
Hello,
I'm
Albert.
sorry. Okay, so we have the question already there. Okay. So I believe you have got the question also. It's from Najla Azarin from ITL Trisakti. Is that right?
Just a minute.
Okay.
I have a question from Chahyadi Pamana.
Oh, okay. Right. So,
which is what Daniel sent to my phone. And I'm sorry, but the question on the screen is a bit blurry and I can't quite read it.
That's why I confirmed to you first. Okay, so Carol, I'm going to read the questions for the audience and you're going to answer the question. Okay. So
Okay,
pertanyaan dari Cahyadi Permana untuk Carol Keynes regarding batik, which is starting to become global today. Is it with the development of the world of communication and information technology, especially in the world of fashion? Will one day batik itself can be replaced in the future? So maybe some still hold fast, but all possibilities may happen in the future where batik is eroded by the times. Jadi kalau batik misalkan tergerus oleh perkembangan zaman. So bagaimana? How about controlling and anticipating this? Bagaimana cara untuk mengontrol atau mengantisipasi hal ini? So Carol, please.
Okay, thank you, Albert. I noticed in the chat line that there were quite a few questions about the continuing, they were really about the continuing relevance and survival of batik as a type of textile and as a fashion item. And I think that if we look at the history of batik, we can see that it is very adaptable and that this is what will give us confidence in its survival into the future. I think if you look at batik in its evolution from the central Javanese court workshops to those of the North Coast and the variation in the patterns that have occurred in answer to the needs of the markets that use different styles of batik, you can see that batik is, and I think it's because it's a textile and we wear textiles and they're part of our society and our visual language, that batik as part of this broader textile family will always be responding to market and social requirements and interests and styles. And that's really why it will survive. I think that the particular stylistic and technical qualities of batik can be used in such a wide range of patterns and motifs, which can incorporate current modern technology, computer-generated imagery, and production techniques, that it really will become part of a global textile fashion, and it will maintain itself into the future. And I think that its place within the world of fashion is quite clear. It's been adopted not only by Indonesian designers like Iwan Tirta-Mijaja in his recent lines, which are extremely beautiful, and I'm sure that they're very successful in the fashion marketplace, but also by designers who work across the world, like Yohji Yamamoto, who used batik designs in several of his ranges in the 90s and continues to do so. So I think we can be confident about the success and the continuation of batik as a textile within both the fashion world and the broader textile industry. And that's my answer to your question. I hope that answers the question.
All right. Thank you, Carol. Okay, so congratulations for Cahyadi Permana. Okay, you win one of our prizes, and our committee will contact you. Baik, itu tadi adalah pertanyaan dari Cahyadi Permana. Selamat, Anda berhak mendapatkan satu buah hadiah dan nanti akan dihubungi oleh rekan-rekan panitia. All right, so now we're going to proceed to the next question. For the second speaker, we have Ilan Wine. Hello, Ilan.
Hello.
Okay, I recall that you have the questions, but I'm gonna read the questions first, okay? So the question is from HM Eric Kamsori, okay, to Ilan Wang. Is there any historical artifacts or items which were originally owned by Indonesia, but then as time goes by are kept in China Hangzhou Museum? Okay, if there are any, what are they? Okay, please, Ilan.
There are some artifacts that are from Indonesia and then collected in our museum in Hangzhou. Since our museum is dedicated to the textile artifacts, so we collect the textiles all over the world and also the garments. We have the Indonesia batik material artifacts from Indonesia and then collected in our museum. And the expert of the Indonesia textile, the Sandra Sujono, who she now works in California and a very good friend of our director. He also delivered a speech in our museum in 2018 about the special material of special techniques of making the batik textile. Also, our museum has had an exhibition named A World of Looms, the weaving technology and textile art of China and beyond, in which we showed the looming machines of how the textiles was made in all over the world. And there are 3 machines that are originally from Indonesia and then showed in China. There are a lot of machines that are used to making the textiles, and we also collect the machines. And that's the answer.
Okay. All right, Ilan, thank you very much. Okay, I hope that Ilan has already answered the questions from HM Eric Kamsori. Okay, and congratulations for you. You got a prize, and our committee will contact you later. Okay, so now we're going to go to questions for Alexandra Green. Okay, so the question is from Disdikbudpora Kabupaten Semarang, okay, atas nama Sita. Okay, so the question is there a policy from International Museum World regarding taking back the items that was taken as a result of colonization? If so, what should be done by the country of the origin to take back the collection? Thank you. So, Alexander Green, I think it's your time to answer the question.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. In terms of museum deaccessioning, I think museums globally are actually just starting to think about this topic in greater detail. So no, there is no International Museum World general policy on the topic. Each museum deals with it differently. Excuse me. I think in terms of the British Museum specifically, we have quite a strict deaccession policy, which can be found online. If you Google British Museum deaccession policy, you'll find the PDF that's available. In the meantime, if there is a specific, if there's evidence of material having been stolen, a country can put in a request for repatriation of material. So I hope that answers that part of the question. In terms of the work that we're doing on Stanford Raffles collection, obviously there's some concern that material was taken from the looted court of Yogyakarta in 1812. Happily, it seems that most of the things that Raffles collected did not come from the court at Jogja, and I've been working with a number of Indonesian scholars to look at the style and the iconography of the objects to see where they might have originated. Quite a lot of, Raffles was very friendly with the court in Cirebon, and so actually quite a lot of the material comes from there. A lot of the objects were also new. So a lot of the puppets clearly haven't been used, the masks have not been used, so there's a lot of possibility that these were gifts or commissions or purchases on the part of Raffles. But the work is still ongoing. I had a grant to work with 2 Indonesian scholars, but that got postponed because of COVID and travel wasn't possible. I've also published an article with the talk that I gave today in the Indonesian journal Purbawidya. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. But that's available in Indonesian. So we are working and looking into the history of the collection. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Alexandra Green. All right. So, Bapak Ibu. Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Can I add one? Sorry. Can I add? I'm sorry. Can I add one more thing? If you're interested in seeing the research that we've done, you can also look at the British Museum collection online. britishmuseum.org/collection, and you can put in terms like Java, and that will come up with everything we have from Java. Or you can put in Raffles, and you'll be able to see the Raffles collection. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Alexander Green. Baik, so Bapak Ibu hadirin, jika Anda tertarik untuk melihat koleksi dari British Museum, Anda bisa langsung mengunjungi lewat online ya. Ketik saja britishmuseum.org ya Bapak Ibu ya. Sekali lagi britishmuseum.org. Dan berkaitan dengan pertanyaan sebelumnya bahwa adakah polisinya, sementara belum ada, oke, tapi negara yang mungkin menghendaki untuk dikembalikan bisa mengajukan permintaan. Oke, itu yang bisa saya tangkap. Nanti akan ada Bapak Daniel Haryodiningrat juga ya di akhir di sesi 2 nanti yang akan memberikan konklusi atau kesimpulan dari seminar di malam hari ini. Baik, kita akan beralih berikutnya ke pertanyaan keempat untuk pembicara kita yang keempat di sesi yang pertama. Pertanyaan untuk Ibu Dahlia Kusuma dari Ridwan HPA. Oke, baik. Bagaimana peran Museum Asia Afrika dalam hal mengakuisisi benda-benda yang berkaitan dengan Konferensi Asia Afrika, baik di dalam negeri maupun di luar negeri, Ibu? Dan apakah tantangan museum dalam mengakuisisi benda-benda yang berkaitan dengan Konferensi Asia Afrika itu? Baik, saya kira sudah jelas pertanyaannya, Bu ya.
Ya.
Baik, Ibu Dahlia. Silakan Ibu Dahlia.
Terima kasih Mas Albert. Suara saya bisa terdengar jelas ya. Tadi ada yang bilang suara
sangat jelas, Ibu.
Oh ya, terima kasih.
Okay.
Terima kasih untuk pertanyaannya dari Pak Ridwan ya. Tadi kalau
Betul.
saya tidak dengar ya. Yang pertama mengenai bagaimana mengakuisisi barang-barang atau benda-benda koleksi yang ada di Museum Konferensi Asia Afrika. Betul. Seperti itu ya pertanyaan yang pertama. Kalau kami di sini memang sebagian besar atau hampir semua ya untuk benda-benda koleksi yang di Museum KAA ini adalah hibah sebenarnya, hibah yang pada saat itu sebenarnya kami itu di tahun revitalisasi kami di tahun 2005 waktu itu itu memang besar-besaran ya, kami mulai banyak mendapatkan banyak benda koleksi, tapi sebelumnya juga sama pada tahun, karena museum ini berdiri di tahun 1980 pertama kali didirikan, dan itu memang pada saat itu masih minim ya koleksinya, dan kami juga dari tahun ke tahun sejak 1980 itu kami mengumpulkan berbagai benda-benda koleksi, dan memang sebagian besarnya itu hibah, sebenarnya hibah ada yang dari kalau sekarang kayak Menkominfo gitu ya, kalau dulu mungkin Departemen Penerangan, kemudian juga ada dari ANRI juga banyak kami mendapatkan naskah-naskah, dan justru dari ANRI itu yang paling banyak sebenarnya, dan juga sebenarnya arsip KAA ini juga disimpan di ANRI, dan bahkan sudah disahkan menjadi Memory of the World oleh UNESCO pada tahun 2015 kalau saya tidak salah ya pada saat itu, dan memang sebagian besar adalah hibah. Kalau untuk selama ini kami kalaupun mendapatkan dari luar negeri itu memang hibah juga gitu ya, artinya, tapi kalau yang benda 3 dimensinya saya kira belum ada ya kalau yang terkait sejarah KAA, tetapi ada beberapa naskah seperti sejarah Gedung Merdeka. Waktu itu kami sempat mendapatkan itu dari Belanda waktu itu, karena memang Gedung Merdeka tempat Museum KAA ini adalah gedung kolonial ya kita sebutnya, benda cagar budaya yang waktu itu memang dimiliki oleh warga Belanda yang ada di Indonesia, dan itu pernah kami mendapatkannya itu dalam bentuk naskah dokumen tentang sejarah Gedung Merdeka. Tapi untuk benda 3 dimensinya memang belum ya. Justru kita ini Indonesia ini yang paling lengkap koleksinya, sehingga justru negara-negara lain yang bahkan mintanya ke kita gitu untuk share koleksi. Justru kita yang lebih banyak memberikan seperti jadi memang yang paling lengkap di kita. Tetapi memang tentunya ada beberapa hal yang kami juga harus explore lagi ya, dan kita akan menjajaki juga misalnya negara di India, misalnya negara-negara yang pada saat itu memang terlibat dalam konferensi Asia Afrika, tentunya kami juga terus melakukan eksplorasi begitu. Tetapi justru sebenarnya banyak negara luar yang mintanya tuh ke kita gitu, karena memang kita yang paling lengkap, dan terutama di ANRI ya, arsip kita yang ada di ANRI. Nah kemudian tadi yang kedua saya agak lupa tadi atau agak kurang jelas tadi apa yang bagian keduanya tentang akuisisi.
Kendala Bu, apakah ada kendala ketika ingin mengakuisisi gitu Bu, benda-benda yang berkaitan dengan konferensi Asia Afrika Bu?
Saya kira relatifly nggak ada ya, karena sebagian besar itu hibah pada saat itu, dan memang kami punya mekanisme yang untuk mengamankan gitu. Artinya jangan sampai ada benda-benda koleksi itu yang ilegal ya, misalnya bisa dikatakan ilegal dalam tanda kutip gitu, atau mungkin statusnya nggak jelas seperti itu. Nah selama ini sih belum kami tidak menemui kendala ya, karena apapun mekanisme kami mendapatkannya pun juga melalui mekanisme yang sesuai prosedur begitu. Jadi ya alhamdulillah sih selama ini tidak ada kendala ya kalau untuk mengakuisisi, dan tentunya kami punya standard of procedure yang jelas untuk memperoleh benda-benda koleksi itu.
Baik. Terima kasih Ibu Dahlia, sangat jelas sekali jawabannya. Baik, dan untuk para penanya mungkin yang belum terjawab, jangan khawatir, kami akan publikasikan jawaban Anda, pertanyaan dan juga jawaban untuk Anda di website jogjamuseums.com ya, jogjamuseums.com. Untuk itu supaya dapat lebih tahu update-nya, silakan follow IG kami di @jogjamuseums ya. And now ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the close statement first ya, close statement from each speaker, and after that we're going to have a photo session. Dan bagi Anda e-sertifikat dan juga presensi, linknya akan dibagikan nanti ya di akhir acara Bapak Ibu. Dan kita akan ke close statement first. We're going to go to Carol as the first speaker. So Carol, your closing statement please.
My closing statement is to say thank you very much to the organisers again for inviting me. It's been a wonderful opportunity, and I hope that we are able to have some collaboration and conversation out of the topic of my paper, and I was very interested in everyone else's papers and learned a lot from them. So it's been a wonderful virtual experience. Thank you again.
Okay, Carol, thank you so much. Okay, that was Carol from National Gallery of Australia. Now we're going to move on to Ilan Wine from China National Sikh Museum, Hangzhou. Your closing statement, Ilan?
Yeah, I want to say thank you, especially to Mr. Daniel Diningrad and Mr. Albert for inviting me to speak here. And I just want to say thank you, and also for the questions that asked by the audiences. I've all read them, and I hope I can have the opportunity to answer them. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Ilan, please make sure you answer each of the questions because we have 686 active participants. Just kidding. Okay, now we're going to go to Alexander Green for the closing statement. Please, Alexander Green.
Thank you very much. I'm reiterating what Carol said. Thank you very much to the organizers and to Pak Daniel for inviting me to participate. I too have learned a lot. It's been a wonderful opportunity for me to reach out and work with a wider group than one would, just sitting in the museum by oneself. And I certainly wish the Indonesian museums happy 50th. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Thank you. Yeah, okay. You can say happy birthday, maybe, Alexandra? No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Happy birthday.
Okay. Sing a song? Oh, no. Okay. Last but not least, we're going to have closing statement from Ibu Dahlia Kusuma Dewi. Silakan, Ibu Dahlia.
Thank you very much, terima kasih, dan tentunya kami ingin mengucapkan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya kepada Barahmus yang sudah mengundang kami juga dalam kesempatan ini, dan selamat juga happy 50th anniversary, and I believe that this is a very serious time to ini adalah usia yang cukup matang dan sangat matang, mungkin 50 tahun ya. Mungkin kami juga akan banyak belajar juga gitu dari Barahmus yang mungkin sudah lebih senior daripada kami di sini yang sudah 50 tahun, dan terima kasih juga kepada kawan-kawan kami, khususnya Pak Daniel dan juga kepada seluruh tim dari Barahmus yang telah for organizing this event. I thank you very much, and maybe I also would like to say thank you to all of you who always support our efforts in preserve the historical value of the Asian African Conference as the biggest moment in the history of humankind in building world peace, and as the let this memory of the world be the inspiration for the world. And also I would like to say that inclusivity is very important in developing the future of museum, actually, because I believe that the role of public is very important to develop a museum, to keep itself existing. And I believe also as now here we are, despite all of our differences, we can come together in this event for the museum, for the future of the museum. So thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Ibu Dahlia, and also the speakers for the first session. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a big round of applause for the first session. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a photo session, okay, with the speakers of the first session first, okay, before we move to the second session. So, please turn on your camera. Bapak Ibu, silahkan nyalakan kamera Anda. Kita akan berfoto bersama dengan para pembicara di sesi yang pertama, ya. Saya tahu kita tidak tahu ada di jendela yang mana, jadi nanti saya akan hitung mundur 3, 2, dan 1 untuk 2 kali, gitu ya. 2 kali ya. Baik. Kita akan hitung mundur dalam 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay. One more time. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Senyum dong. Okay, baik. Okay, and thank you for the speakers for the first session. If you want to leave this Zoom meeting, please, okay, because of the time difference or maybe because you have something else to do. Thank you so much for your time of your business. Okay, if you want to stay and also we're going to have the second session. Okay, please do. Alright, so Bapak Ibu, dear participants, sebelum kita menuju ke sesi yang kedua, masih dalam rangkaian dari International Museum Seminar, kita akan menyimak terlebih dahulu this video. Please enjoy the video.
National Gallery of Australia, we got to see some of the world's best artworks and we got to make our own. My favourite part was when we got to draw on iPads and create art with tissue paper. We learnt about Aboriginal art, modern art and everything in between.
Welcome to the Yale University Art Gallery. My name is Liliana Milkova, and I'm the Nolan Curator of Education and Academic Affairs. Founded in 1832, the gallery is the oldest college art museum in the U.S. We are a teaching museum in which students play a vital role in everything we do. We are a place of interdisciplinary inquiry and learning, reflection and dialogue, creativity and fun. Not to mention, we're always free of charge. Our collection spans virtually every time period and culture and is housed in 3 striking interconnected buildings in New Haven's Arts District, near Old Campus. We also have 2 state-of-the-art open storage study centers at Yale West Campus. As a campus museum, we work closely with dozens of Yale courses, so chances are you will engage with our collection in your very first semester here. You can also connect with art through our exciting and diverse public programs, such as talks, tours, and the popular Gallery Plus series, which always features student collaborators. Students come to the gallery to socialize, study, feel inspired, or simply to take a break. The gallery is a lively cultural and civic hub as well, and here you can connect with local and regional communities or with visitors from all over the globe. While the gallery is currently closed, you can still access our entire collection on our website. Give your imagination free rein as you browse thousands of works from around the world. You can enjoy the rich and thought-provoking gallery programs available on our YouTube channel, or join us for one of our online public programs. Follow us on social media to learn about gallery news and upcoming events. We're always eager to hear from you, so get in touch. Bring your curiosity and ideas. You can find more about us and our email addresses on the gallery's website. Even though we're working remotely, we continue to train and mentor students from many academic disciplines. Let us know if you'd like to get involved. We cannot wait to see you in the gallery when we reopen. Until then, look for us online and discover all the ways in which the gallery can be part of your Yale experience and a link to the New Haven community and beyond. Welcome.
All right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, you are still watching International Museum Seminar, and we are right now in the second session. In this second session, we're going to have 4 speakers, and they're going to have their presentation respectively. Okay, we are going to go to the first presenter in the second session. We have Ibu Sri Hartini. Beliau adalah Direktur Eksekutif Museum Perkebunan Indonesia yang merupakan satu-satunya museum perkebunan di Indonesia. Ibu Sri Hartini adalah lulusan Arkeologi dan Antropologi Universitas Gadjah Mada dan Universitas Negeri Medan, dan beliau memulai karirnya di Direktorat Jenderal Kebudayaan Subdit Pemugaran, dan beliau juga adalah Kanwin Pendidikan Kebudayaan Sumatera Utara, bidang sejarah purbakala, asesor kurator nasional, ketua Amida Sumatera Utara, dan kepala Museum Negeri Provinsi Sumatera Utara selama 17 tahun. Luar biasa sekali Ibu Sri Hartini ya. Ibu Sri Hartini sudah bergabung bersama dengan kita. Oke, mari Ibu. Oke. Halo Ibu Sri Hartini. Oke, Ibu Sri Hartini.
Halo, Assalamualaikum, selamat malam.
Waalaikumsalam, Ibu. Terima kasih sudah bergabung, Bu. Luar biasa sekali ya, Bu ya. Oke, baik. Ibu Sri Hartini, kita akan langsung menuju presentasi dari Ibu Sri Hartini ya. Baik, oke. Baik, oke. The time is yours, Ibu Sri Hartini.
Sejarah panjang perkebunan di Sumatera Utara bukan sekedar cerita rakyat saja. Gedung peninggalan Belanda yang terletak di Jalan Brigjen Katamso Medan seakan menjadi saksi dan dapat berkisah tentang jejak perkebunan di Sumatera Utara. Perkembangan perkebunan di Pulau Sumatera dimulai pada masa Kesultanan Delhi. Dan kini Tanah Delhi telah tumbuh dan berkembang menjadi sebuah kota metropolitan yang disebut dengan Kota Medan. Dan rekam jejak perkembangannya telah tersimpan di sebuah museum perkebunan Kota Medan yang merupakan museum perkebunan pertama dan satu-satunya di Indonesia. Seperti apa? Mari kita lihat. Di gedung bekas rumah Direktur Perkebunan inilah sejarah perkebunan Sumatera Utara dapat kita dapatkan. Bangunan dengan gaya arsitektur Belanda ini memang dulunya merupakan bagian dari sejarah perkebunan Sumatera. Sehingga gedung peninggalan Belanda ini dijadikan sebagai museum perkebunan pertama di Indonesia. Sejarah mencatat bahwa salah satu faktor perkembangan yang dialami Sumut saat ini adalah hasil kontribusi perkebunan. Pada awalnya bermula di Tanah Delhi, dirintis oleh Yakub Nienhuys sejak 17 Juli 1863, dengan tembakau sebagai komoditi utamanya. Kemudian tahun 1869, Nienhuys, Jensen, dan Clement mendirikan perusahaan The Delhi Maskapai. Dalam perkembangannya tahun 1929 terdapat 170 perkebunan tersebar di seluruh wilayah Sumatera Timur. Banyak perusahaan asing menampung hasil komoditi dari perkebunan Sumatera Utara. Sejarah yang dapat kita nikmati di gedung tua ini menunjukkan bahwa komoditas tembakau menjadi komoditi utama yang terkenal hingga ke Eropa. Setiap ruangan di gedung ini memperlihatkan beberapa foto gudang penyimpanan tembakau, bahkan miniatur berbagai hal tentang komoditi perkebunan juga dipajang di museum ini. Meskipun komoditas tembakau sempat mengalami krisis dan tidak lagi menjadi komoditi tunggal, para pengusaha pada saat itu berupaya untuk membudidayakan tanaman lain seperti tanaman kopi, coklat, karet, dan sawit. Museum perkebunan ini sengaja didirikan untuk merekam jejak perkembangan perkebunan di Pulau Sumatera, khususnya di Sumatera Utara. Warga Medan yakni Indah sangat mengapresiasi adanya museum perkebunan ini karena selain dapat dijadikan sebagai tempat liburan, juga dapat dijadikan lokasi wisata edukatif.
Pastinya harapan saya itu tetap terawat dan terjaga untuk kedepannya generasi-generasi kita akan mengetahui museum perkebunan ini.
Saat ini Museum Perkebunan Indonesia yang disingkat Musperin ini menjadi salah satu ikon penting di Kota Medan sebagai salah satu destinasi wisata edukatif. Selain sebagai museum perkebunan, ada juga gedung lain yang masih berada satu areal dengan museum ini. Di sini merupakan pusat inkubasi dan bisnis, di mana seluruh turunan sawit dapat diolah menjadi berbagai produk, seperti coklat dari kelapa sawit, hingga produk kecantikan.
Di bagian halaman depan museum terdapat 2 lokomotif yang dulunya digunakan sebagai transportasi pengangkut hasil perkebunan. Sementara itu ada juga sebuah pesawat yang dulunya juga digunakan sebagai alat menyiram untuk perkebunan tembakau. Dan 3 titik ini menjadi lokasi favorit bagi pengunjung yang ingin bersuah foto.
Baiklah, Bapak Ibu sekalian, saya ingin memperkenalkan diri dulu. Nama saya Sri Hartini, saya Direktur Eksekutif Museum Perkebunan Indonesia. Yang perlu saya sampaikan pada kesempatan ini tentu saja pertama sekali kami dari keluarga besar Museum Perkebunan Indonesia mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun emas untuk BARAHMUS. Semoga BARAHMUS terus maju dan berkembang. Dan juga BARAHMUS terus berperan aktif di dalam membina museum-museum yang ada di wilayahnya. Pada kesempatan ini, Bapak Ibu sekalian, kami ingin memberikan kontribusi, ingin memberikan informasi, juga masukan bagaimana upaya pengelolaan dan pengembangan Museum Perkebunan Indonesia yang ada di Medan. Kemudian ini adalah beberapa contoh dari ruang tata pameran di Museum Perkebunan Indonesia 1. Jadi memang kita punya 2 gedung, ini di Museum Perkebunan Indonesia 1. Ini adalah beberapa informasi-informasi display tata pamernya, kemudian juga ada beberapa spot-spot yang bisa mendukung untuk bersuah foto. Ada namanya track eye ya, kita ada gambar-gambar 3 dimensi. Kemudian selanjutnya Bapak Ibu sekalian, kita tampilkan juga ini adalah tata pamer di Museum Perkebunan Indonesia 2 yang tadi sudah saya sebutkan. Ini adalah di lantai 1 gedung BKSPPS, dan ini koleksi-koleksinya adalah hibah dari Rotterdam Siloy yang sebanyak 70 koleksi kita pamerkan di sini. Nah, ini menempati 1 ruangan di lantai 1. Kemudian sudah saya sebutkan tadi, kita sekarang sedang melakukan pengembangan di Museum Perkebunan Indonesia 2. Inilah rencana yang akan kita buat untuk pengembangannya, di mana di dalam gedung itu nanti ada beberapa ruangan. Di sini ada kafe, untuk kafe yang nanti kita akan buat kafe premium di sini. Tentu saja kami ini mendapat inspirasi dari Museum Ulen Sentalu, di mana kafenya juga sangat terkenal, digemari juga. Kemudian kita juga melakukan beberapa tambahan tata pameran di lantai 1. Kemudian kalau yang untuk di lantai 4 tidak bisa saya tayangkan di sini karena belum kita buat ininya, karena di lantai 4 itu adalah untuk working space. Jadi kita pakai untuk working space. Untuk ada beberapa pertemuan-pertemuan kecil, kemudian ada juga bisa dipakai untuk mahasiswa-mahasiswa untuk melakukan misalnya melakukan pekerjaan, tugas dan sebagainya, kita siapkan ada di lantai 4. Bapak Ibu, inilah sekilas gambaran umum tentang Museum Perkebunan Indonesia yang berlokasi di Medan, yang menempati 2 bangunan. Dan insya Allah nanti 2 bulan lagi untuk Museum Perkebunan Indonesia 2 ini selesai dikerjakan, dan mudah-mudahan pandemi juga segera berakhir sehingga kita bisa segera melaunching. Bapak Ibu sekalian, di dalam renovasi terhadap Museum Perkebunan Indonesia 2, karena ini juga merupakan heritage, merupakan cagar budaya nasional, maka di dalam pengerjaannya kita bekerja sama dengan Badan Warisan Sumatera. Sekianlah Bapak Ibu sekalian yang dapat kami sampaikan.
Baik, oke, terima kasih Ibu Sri Hartini. Oke, dan kita akan berjumpa lagi dengan Ibu nanti di sesi tanya jawab or question and answers. Oke, dan untuk hadirin atau peserta webinar yang ingin bertanya, langsung saja ketikkan pertanyaan Anda di kolom chat. Dan nantinya kami akan memilih pertanyaan pilihan dari panitia. Baik, sekedar saran Bapak Ibu, tadi saya membaca di kolom chat bahwa suaranya kurang keras. Anda bisa menggunakan earphone atau earset karena terdengar cukup jelas ketika Anda menggunakan earphone atau headset seperti ini ya. Oke. Baik, it's just a suggestion Bapak Ibu. Oke. Okay, the next one, we're gonna move to the next speaker from the second speaker of the second session. We're going to have Francine Bringgrave, and I'm going to read the curriculum vitae first. She is a curator for Insular Southeast Asia at the National Museum of World Cultures, the Netherlands, of which the Tropen Museum in Amsterdam and the Museum Volkenkunde are part. She's a graduate of Cultural Anthropology of Leiden University, and her special fields of interest are the culture of Bali and provenance research on the Indonesian collections. We are so lucky that we have Francine here. Hello, Francine.
Halo Mas Albert.
Apa kabar Francine?
Oh, baik saja. Terima kasih.
Bahasa Indonesianya sudah bagus ya. Okay, Francine, are you ready for the presentation?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, now the time is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Pa Daniel, for the invitation for the celebrations of the 50th anniversary of BARAHMUS. And I really want to congratulate you all on this happy occasion. My name is Francine Bringgrave, and I'm curator for Indonesia in the National Museum of World Cultures in the Netherlands. And the presentation is called Balinese Art Treasures of the 1940s, the Rediscovery of a Collection. In 1948, Ida Ana Agung Gede Agung, one of Indonesia's national heroes, visited the Tropen Museum in Amsterdam. Since December 1947, he was the Prime Minister of Negara Indonesia Timur, one of Negaras of the Republik Indonesia Serikat, which had been established in Denpasar, Bali, in December 1946. Ida Ana Agung Gede Agung was in the Tropen Museum on the occasion of an exhibition of East Indonesian art. This exhibition had been shown already in Makassar on the occasion of the first anniversary of the foundation of Negara Indonesia Timur. The Balinese objects for this exhibit were mainly assembled by Rudolf Bonnet, a Dutch painter who lived and worked in Bali for many years between 1929 and 1958. Bonnet knew many Balinese artists very well, since in 1936, Bonnet, Walter Spies, Tjokorda Gede Agung Sukawati, and the famous artist I Gusti Nyoman Lempart had founded in Ubud the Pitamaha Artists Association. This cooperative, which promoted the quality and sales of Balinese works of art, was joined by about 125 Balinese artists. The exhibition in Amsterdam showed 62 paintings by well-known artists, of which I will present only a few examples. The painting in gouache on paper, on the right, of a Balinese cockfight is made by Ide Bagus Nadra. The famous Ide Bagus Made Poleng from Tebesaya is represented with a painting in tempera on Mesonite of a bathing place in a river. Such a scene remains even today an important part in village life. Idewa Gede Meregek from Padang Tegal painted in tempera on paper the fable of the turtles and the two birds, one of the best-known animal tales in the Tantri Kamandaka. The pool where the turtles live is going to be drained by hunters in order to obtain the fish. They ask the bird for help. Of particular interest is this large painting in canvas by Imade Jata from Batuan. The painter himself has explained this elaborate painting as symbolizing the occupation of Bali by the Japanese during World War II. A volcano is erupting and a strong storm blowing bends the trees over, indicating that this was a very difficult time. Yellow butterflies, their color symbolizing the Japanese, are falling down into the sea where they drown or are devoured by a sea serpent. Above, white butterflies symbolize the arrival of Allied aeroplanes. The oppression of the Japanese is marked by a plague of rats, which overcome one unlucky man. But elsewhere, life goes on as usual in a whole series of scenes of daily activities. The exhibitions not only contained Balinese paintings, but also 33 wooden objects, especially wood carvings by the famous Ide Bagus Nyane from the village of Mas. Rudolf Bonnet was very impressed by his work, which he described as follows. With regard to expression of spirituality and to refinement, no one in Mas surpasses him. One of the most remarkable statues is the praying lady sitting on a rock, made from kayu nangka, that was used on the poster for the exhibition in Amsterdam. Ide Bagus Nyane was very well represented in the exhibition, with 12 beautiful statues. The golden deer struck by Rama's arrow is carved from kayu champaka by Akan, also from Mas. The golden deer into which Pati Maricha has transformed himself has been struck by Rama's arrow. This is a famous episode from the Ramayana. The deer's head is turned sharply backwards, perhaps just at the moment he screams, and, according to the story, disappears. Itame, who used kayu suar for the lovely statue of a goat, lived in New Kuning. And also Inyoman Silur, who carved the 2 coconut squirrels, and the pangolin, or ant-eater, lived in New Kuning. The large statue of monkeys who are sitting in a small flowering tree and eating its fruit is made of kayu waru talu, hibiscus wood. The artist is unknown, but is possibly Inyoman Chokot from Jati, since he is the only known artist at that time who carved such large book sculptures. Although the emphasis in this collection was clearly on wood carvings and paintings, also exhibited were 16 silver objects and 8 silver inlaid knives of various kinds. They originated from Kamasan, Klungkung, which was for centuries past the center of gold and silver working, and from Cheluk in Gianyar, that especially since the 1930s developed as a result of growing tourism. It is interesting that artists creating not only paintings and wood carvings, but also works of silver were identified by name. Iwayan Ledang, who made the offering bowl, was born in 1920 in Banjar Pandey Mas, Kamasan. He began his career as silversmith when he was just 14 years old. In 1937, he became a member of the Pitamaha Artists Association, whose membership was also open to silversmiths. Iwayan Bawa made a pair of siri boxes with gilded lids. After the exhibition closed in Amsterdam, it traveled to a number of places in the Netherlands, and finally it was shown in Museum Volkenkunde in Leiden until the beginning of 1950. Nothing came of the idea that it should travel further, and certainly not after Negara Indonesia Timur was dissolved in August 1950. But when Ide Ana Agung Gede Agung was appointed Indonesian ambassador in Brussels in November 1950, the collection was exhibited again in Brussels. And the collection traveled with him when he was appointed ambassador in Paris. Here too he had plans to hold an exhibition about Indonesia. But nothing came of that because in 1955 he was appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs and returned to Indonesia. Before his departure, on 4 February 1955, during a visit to the Tropenmuseum, He requested that the museum would look after the collection again. But he added a note that this must not be considered as a gift. Should the government of Indonesia, as legal successor of Negara Indonesia Timur, request the return of the collection, then the museum should return it. This was agreed. 145 objects arrived in Amsterdam at the beginning of March 1955, but since then Indonesia has never asked for its return. However, after the Tropenmuseum in Amsterdam and Museum Volkenkunde in Leiden merged into the National Museum of World Cultures, in 2018 we contacted the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia concerning the matter of handing over the collection to its rightful owner. As a result, before the actual return of the objects to Indonesia, in 2019, we realized the publication of the collection with financial support of the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia in The Hague, His Excellency I Gusti Agung Wisakapuja, and the Ministry of Education and Culture of Indonesia. And plans are made for the objects to return Jakarta and be kept in the National Gallery and the Museum Nasional. But due to the COVID crisis, the actual return of this special collection to Indonesia has not yet been realized. But we do hope that this will happen in the foreseeable future. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Francine. Okay, and we're going to see you again in the question and answer session. Baik, Bapak Ibu, dear participants, sudah 2 presenter di sesi yang kedua ini, dan selanjutnya kita akan menuju ke pembicara berikutnya. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the next presenter, Ruth Barnes. She's a senior curator for Indo-Pacific Art at Yale University Art Gallery. She previously worked as the curator and researcher at the Smithsonian Museum in Oxford for 20 years. Since 2010, she was appointed as the first curator in Yale Art Gallery. Okay, hello, Ruth.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. What about you?
Fine, very good. It's morning here in New Haven.
Oh yeah? What time is it?
Yes, it's just after 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's still late, 8:30 here. Okay, Ruth, I think you're ready for your presentation, and the time is yours.
Thank you. And thank you again for inviting me to this wonderful meeting. And today I'm going to talk to you about the department I am the head of, which is the Indo-Pacific Department at the Yale University Art Gallery. And my talk is entitled Teaching, Research and Sharing. Founded in 1832, the Yale University Art Gallery is the oldest university art museum in North America. The museum is an integral part of Yale, and it is a center therefore for teaching, learning, and scholarship. It's a preeminent cultural asset to the university, the wider academic community, and very much for the general public. The museum collects, preserves, studies, and presents art in all media from all regions of the globe and across time, with a collection numbering nearly 300,000 objects. I was appointed as first curator that year and started my position at Yale in January 2010. I had spent the previous 20 years working as curator and researcher at the Smithsonian Museum in Oxford. The Indo-Pacific Department focuses on the arts of maritime Southeast Asia. The expansive name Indo-Pacific implies the region's connections both east and west, with links to the Pacific Islands and to the Indian Ocean. The majority of cultures represented speak a version of Austronesian, making them part of the world's most widespread language family that includes Madagascar on the west, just off the east coast of Africa, and Hawaii and Easter Island in the east of the Pacific. They are united by similar concerns in their understanding of the world, expressed in regards for their ancestors, their communities' recordings of history, and a strong emphasis on life cycle ceremonies. The department displays a small collection of bronze objects on loan from Thomas Jaffe, and a magnificent recent donation from Robert Holmgren and Anita Spertus of a uniquely important Janus-faced bronze finial disc is now also on display. At the time of its founding in 2009, the department's collections held approximately 1,600 objects, either presented to the gallery as promised gifts or already donated. There were three distinct groups of objects. There was Javanese gold, primarily from the 8th to the 13th century, Indonesian textiles dating from the 15th to the early 20th century, and ethnographic objects, mainly sculpture from Indonesia, the Philippines, and Taiwan, dating from the 18th to the early 20th century. Let me first introduce the Javanese gold collection. In 2007 and 2008, the collectors Hunter and Valerie Thompson donated their substantial collection of Javanese gold to the gallery in anticipation of the department's founding. With approximately 500 objects, the collection is one of the largest in any public museum. It holds personal jewelry, ritual objects used in ceremonial contexts, small religious sculptures, funerary objects, and items of high prestige that were associated with court culture. Our textile collection has at its core about 400 pieces which were collected in Indonesia by Robert Holmgren, also many better known as Jeff Holmgren, and Anita Spertus from the 1970s onwards. Their collection already was famous for its superb quality and depth, and is only rivaled by the Indonesian textile collection at the National Gallery of Australia, to which they incidentally also contributed greatly. The in-depth focus of our collection is on South Sumatra, Sulawesi, and Borneo, but other islands are also represented. I'm showing you here one of our earliest pieces, a 16th century woman's skirt from northern Sulawesi, which its date has been determined by radiocarbon dating. With the support of the benefactors, of the department's benefactor, Tom Jaffe, we have been able to add substantially to our textile collection over the last 9 years. It now numbers over 1,100 items. The most outstanding group to be acquired were the textiles that Jeff Holmgren and Anita Spertus still had in their collection. They decided to part with these in 2016. We now hold the most comprehensive collection of Indonesian textiles in the Western Hemisphere. These were complemented in 2018 by a donation of over 50 textiles from mainland Southeast Asia, primarily from ethnic minority communities in Thailand and Burma. Now, most of our three-dimensional sculptures were once part of village cultures. From the beginning, the department had significant collections from North Sumatra, from the Batak region in particular, from Borneo, the Toraja of Sulawesi, the Southern Malaccas, Flores, Timor, and the Philippines. Also remarkable are objects from the Aboriginal cultures of Taiwan, who are culturally part of the Austronesian world. New areas now represented are mostly from eastern Indonesia, the Raja Ampat Islands and Cendrawasih Bay, which is the Bird's Head Peninsula of western New Delhi, all of which were displayed in our 2014-2015 exhibition, East of the Wallace Line, Monumental Art from Eastern Indonesia. Now, in my first acquisition policy statement, written in 2011, I included the following paragraph, and I quote myself: shadow puppet performances of the Ramayana and Mahabharata stories are an integral part of Javanese and Balinese culture. A complete set of puppets of wayang kulit would be an asset to the department and would complement the gamelan orchestra performances of Yale School of Music. My wish more than came true when the department received the donation of a remarkable collection of Indonesian puppets from Java, Bali, and Lombok. The collector, Walter Ernst, brought together over 120 complete sets plus 20 incomplete sets, as well as much of the paraphernalia related to the performances. Extensive documentation and the collector's library were also part of the gift. It came to the Yale University Art Gallery in its entirety, thanks to the generosity of Arthur's brother, Sir Henry Angus. As a university museum, we are closely involved with teaching our undergraduate and graduate students, and we give them opportunities to participate in our curating activities and in the interpretation of our collections. Training the next generation of museum professionals is essential to us, but we also try to inspire an admiration for human creativity in students from all disciplines. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ruth.
Yes.
Okay. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, you are still watching International Museum Seminar. Okay. And right now we're going to go to the last presenter or speaker of the second session. Okay. And before, Bapak Ibu hadirin, sebelum saya menuju ke pembicara terakhir untuk sesi ini atau sesi International Museum Seminar, pastikan pertanyaan Anda di chat box itu ditujukan untuk everyone atau semua orang ya. Oke, jangan hanya ditujukan ke saya karena nanti host tidak bisa membaca, Bapak Ibu. Baik, begitu ya. Dan pembicara berikutnya, last but not least, the youngest of all, I think, Cynthia Handi, adalah Direktur Museum Gubuk Wayang Mojokerto sejak tahun 2018 sampai sekarang. Cynthia adalah lulusan sarjana psikologi dari Universitas Surabaya dan kini menjabat sebagai komisioner Dewan Kebudayaan Daerah Kota Mojokerto masa bakti 2021 sampai dengan 2024. Beliau juga diundang dalam berbagai forum nasional seperti Kick Andy Metro TV, Zona Inspirasi Kompas TV, dan lain-lain. Dan beliau juga sebagai pemuda utama Jawa Timur. Halo Cynthia.
Halo.
Oke, apa kabar Cynthia?
Sehat selalu.
Sehat selalu ya. Cuaca cerah di Mojokerto?
Ya.
Cuacanya cerah sekarang di Mojokerto?
Agak mendung ya di sini ya. Tapi kayaknya sudah agak hujan.
Oke. Baik, Cynthia sudah siap ya? And the time is yours, Cynthia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom.
Om Swastiastu, salam namo buddhaya. Rahayu buat semua Bapak Ibu yang sudah ikutan acara webinar ini. Perkenalkan, nama saya Cynthia Andi dari Museum Gubuk Wayang. Tema yang saya bawakan hari ini adalah tentang Museum Through Off and Online. Bagaimana Museum Gubuk Wayang berusaha untuk tetap menjaga aktivitas kebudayaan terutama di Kota Mojokerto ini tetap berjalan. Ketika kita tidak melakukan pemajuan, maka kita lama-lama perlahan akan kehilangan peminatnya. Gap yang terjadi di antara transfer knowledge dari generasi ke generasi yang menyebabkan masyarakat anak-anak muda tidak memiliki pengalaman terhadap kebudayaan. Nah, jadi kalau misalnya kita melihat kenapa sih anak-anak muda kok nggak mau ikut melestarikan kebudayaan, bukan karena mereka nggak mau, tapi mereka nggak tahu karena tidak ada pengalaman terhadap kebudayaan. Nah, maka dari itu museum sebenarnya adalah kunci penguatan kembali sifat pewarisan bangsa Indonesia generasi ke generasi. Jadi, bagaimana caranya? Kita, museum, harus membawa ke ranah kita aktif. Dan kalau ngomong di zaman sekarang, apalagi di pandemi ini ya, mempertegas bahwa sebenarnya ada dua dunia, yaitu dunia offline dan dunia online. Sehingga kami Museum Gubuk Wayang fokus dalam pengembangan di dua dunia ini dengan program-program unggulannya. Kami Museum Gubuk Wayang berusaha untuk mengangkat stigma yang baru untuk masyarakat, yaitu museum adalah ruang publik kebudayaan yang sebenarnya. Bahwa museum bukan hanya tempat untuk menyimpan koleksi saja, bukan hanya tempat untuk belajar dengan cara yang membosankan pula, tapi sebenarnya museum itu juga erat dengan kegiatan sehari-hari. Seperti contohnya, kita bisa menjadikan museum sebagai tempat untuk reunian, karena kebetulan Museum Gubuk Wayang itu juga ada koleksi mainan-mainan tradisional, sehingga anak-anak SMA tahun 90-an reunian di Museum Gubuk Wayang sambil bisa menikmati mainan-mainan di zamannya. Kemudian bisa menjadi tempat base camp untuk para seniman dan budayawan. Ketika mereka datang ke museum, kemudian mereka melihat karya-karya pengembangan yang banyak hal terhadap itu bisa mematik para seniman dan budayawan juga untuk mendapatkan inspirasi tersendiri untuk karya-karya selanjutnya dalam artian untuk pengembangan kebudayaan. Dan masih banyak lagi fungsi-fungsi museum yang bisa kita kembangkan sebenarnya. Nah, selanjutnya program offline kita adalah temporary museum. Semangat kami untuk museum itu bisa ada di mana-mana, sehingga masyarakat atau anak-anak muda ketika ingin mengetahui atau belajar tentang kebudayaan mereka tidak kesulitan untuk mencarinya. Temporary museum itu adalah langkah pengenalan kembali untuk meningkatkan kembali khasana seni budaya Nusantara melalui program konservatif dan inovatif. Jadi, program ini dilakukan untuk menekankan peran pelestarian yang juga diharapkan sekaligus adanya pengembangan dengan melibatkan anak-anak muda juga maupun guru maupun dari pihak permusiuman. Temporary museum itu sudah ada di beberapa sekolah, yaitu Universitas Ciputra, Universitas Surabaya, SMA Negeri 1 Sukop, SMKN 1 Trawulan, dan Universitas Bina Nusantara yang di Malang. Dan kami juga akan terus bertambah. Sebenarnya kalau misalnya nggak pandemi gini, kita setidaknya sudah bisa menambah 3-5 temporary museum. Program ini akan menghadirkan 12 lemari, yang dimana koleksinya akan berubah-ubah sesuai dengan perjanjian. Temporary museum ini seperti laboratorium sosial budaya bagi adik-adik maupun bapak ibu guru yang ada di sekolah. Nah, di dalam kegiatan temporary museum itu juga kita bukan hanya menaruh koleksi saja, tapi juga diadakan seminar, diadakan workshop, dan diadakan lokal konten kreatif. Nah, ini adalah contoh temporary museum yang sudah ada di Universitas Surabaya. Pada saat itu, kita melakukan kerjasama karena adanya kesamaan visi misi, yaitu Ubaya yang memiliki tagline multikultural. Maka dari itu, kita menaruh koleksi tentang The Spirit of Majapahit yang diresmikan langsung oleh Ketua Yayasan pada tanggal 2 Mei 2018, tepat di Hari Pendidikan Nasional. Sesuai yang saya bilang sebelumnya, bahwa Gubuk Wayang tidak hanya sekedar menaruh koleksi di tempat mitra kita melakukan kerjasama. Nah, temporary museum ini menjadi payung dalam kegiatan antara Gubuk Wayang dan Ubaya dalam pengembangan kebudayaan. Dengan adanya kegiatan ini, kami sangat melibatkan mahasiswa, salah satunya adalah melakukan proyek Tari Ibu Pertiwi, yang ditampilkan pada forum internasional yaitu Association of Universities of Asia and Pacific, tuan rumah Pekan Seni dan Budaya Mahasiswa daerah Jawa Timur. Kemudian kita sampai melakukan pemecahan rekor muri merangkai wayang kertas oleh mahasiswa terbanyak. Nih salah satu bentuk fotonya. Tak disangka temporary museum memberikan semangat tersendiri buat Ubaya. Tahun ini, kami Museum Gubuk Wayang dengan Ubaya akan membangun museum terintegrasi untuk pendidikan dan kebudayaan di Kampus 3 Ubaya. Nah, ini adalah suatu hal yang baru juga. Akhirnya, dengan temporary museum ini ternyata bisa memberikan pandangan-pandangan baru. Karena dengan adanya temporary museum ini memberikan beberapa keuntungan, salah satunya di akreditasi maupun kredit poin bagi dosen dan guru. Gubuk Wayang itu tidak hanya untuk instansi pendidikan. Sejak Maret 2021, Museum Gubuk Wayang melakukan kerjasama dengan pemerintah Kota Mojokerto guna mengembangkan kebudayaan di Mojokerto. Kerjasama ini menghasilkan proyek pameran setiap bulan di Rumah Rakyat dan juga temporary museum di kantor pemerintahan Kota Mojokerto. Dengan adanya program kerjasama ini, memastikan ruang kebudayaan di Kota Mojokerto tetap berjalan, sekaligus menjaga eksistensi Museum Gubuk Wayang dapat dinikmati masyarakat umum maupun tamu penting di Kota Mojokerto.
Alhamdulillah pagi hari ini menjadi hari yang istimewa bagi kita semuanya, masih bisa dikumpulkan dengan suasana yang penuh dengan kekeluargaan dan kebersamaan ini. Peringatan Hari Dongeng Internasional. Saya kira ini sebuah event yang sangat tepat untuk menjadi refleksi bagi kita bersama. Selamat Hari Dongeng Internasional buat anak-anakku semuanya. Semoga dengan peringatan ini kegiatan mendongeng, kegiatan literasi di Kota Mojokerto bisa terus kita budayakan dan menjadi kebiasaan. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Adalah salah satu fungsi dari temporary museum, yaitu memberikan semangat pemajuan kebudayaan untuk warga maupun pemimpin di daerah setempat. Selanjutnya, online. Jadi dengan masa pandemi seperti ini menyadarkan kita bahwa kita harus bisa menyeimbangkan offline maupun online. Bagaimana caranya kita Museum Gubuk Wayang bisa terus menjaga eksistensi museum walaupun ada di masa pandemi seperti ini. Bukan hal yang mudah ketika kita membawa museum ke dalam online, karena sebenarnya museum itu tidak bisa lepas dari pengalaman real. Tapi mau tidak mau online ini menjadi jembatan tersendiri buat kita dan juga memberikan market tersendiri buat kita dalam hal pengembangan kebudayaan. Di media online, kami aktif semenjak Juli 2020. Menjadi media yang dimanfaatkan oleh museum kami yang upload setiap hari dengan beragam konten. Total sudah terdapat 400 lebih video yang terupload. Selanjutnya kita punya konten Gubuk Aki yang menjelaskan koleksi-koleksi aki kami yang juga sangat banyak. Sudah rilis 13 episode dan sudah memiliki stok untuk setahun ke depan dan akan terus bertambah. Gubuk Musik. Konten ini menjadi ajang nostalgia para penikmat yang tidak bisa move on, misalnya dengan masa lalu ya, tentunya. Mendengarkan lagu-lagu jadul dari pemutar kaset kita, ditemani dengan benda yang ada di zamannya. Selain YouTube, kita juga fokus di sosial media Instagram. Nah, isinya itu adalah satu, kita melakukan pameran virtual, yang dimana kita taruh foto-foto koleksi kami di laman Instagram yang dibuat sequel berdasarkan tematik setiap bulan. Pameran yang udah dilakukan, wayang kancil, wayang kritik di Ponorogo, topeng Punokawan, piringan hitam lagu anak, wayang potehi, keris, dan lain-lain. Nah, itulah yang kami lakukan selama pandemi ini. Bagaimana kami berusaha menjaga kegiatan keseimbangan antara offline dan online semaksimal kemampuan kami. Maka dari itu, pemajuan kebudayaan tetap dapat dilakukan dengan beragam bentuk ekspresi yang dibutuhkan adalah nyata. Yuk kita nyatakan aktifnya kita masing-masing. Terima kasih, saya Siti Handi. Salam budaya menyatukan bangsa dari Museum Gubuk Wayang.
All right, so thank you, Cynthia Handi, the last speaker for the second session. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to go to the next session, which is the question and answer session. So each speaker will have one question. Bapak Ibu, sekarang kita akan menuju ke sesi berikutnya, yaitu adalah sesi tanya jawab, dan setiap pembicara akan mendapatkan satu pertanyaan dari audiens. Dan jangan khawatir untuk audiens yang mungkin pertanyaannya belum mendapat kesempatan untuk dibacakan di forum ini, karena kami nanti akan mengirimkan setiap pertanyaan Anda langsung ke pembicara dan nanti akan langsung dijawab oleh beliau-beliau dan akan kami post di website kami di jogjamuseums.org ya. Untuk informasi lebih lanjutnya kami imbau untuk mengikuti Instagram account kami di @jogjamuseums dengan S ya. Baik, so ladies and gentlemen, right now we're gonna go to the first speaker of the second session. Kita akan menuju ke pembicara yang pertama di sesi kedua, yaitu beliau adalah Ibu Sri Hartini dari Museum Perkebunan Indonesia. Dan saya yakin Ibu sudah siap dengan jawaban pertanyaannya, namun izinkan saya terlebih dahulu untuk membacakan pertanyaan dari Paundra Wangsa Fajar Kusuma. So you're lucky, Paundra. Anda akan mendapatkan sebuah hadiah, nanti panitia akan menghubungi Anda. Baik, pertanyaan untuk Ibu Sri Hartini. Apakah Museum Perkebunan Indonesia dapat mengakomodasi semua hasil perkebunan Indonesia, Ibu? Dan bagaimana mekanismenya? Oke. Kemudian pertanyaan yang berikutnya yaitu adalah lalu bagaimana tantangan mengelola Museum Perkebunan Indonesia karena museum ini hanya satu-satunya, Ibu, di Indonesia. Silakan, Ibu Sri Hartini. Baik, Ibu. Ibu Sri Hartini, halo, bisa mendengar suara saya, Bu? Oke. Alright, so Ibu, mungkin Ibu ada kendala teknis. Oke. Kalau begitu saya akan menuju ke pertanyaan berikutnya terlebih dahulu. Alright, so while waiting for Ibu Sri Hartini from Museum Perkebunan Indonesia, I'm going to go to the next question first, which is for Francine Bringgrave. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to go to Francine first, yeah? Alright, so the question is from Widiawati. Okay? Widiawati, and this is for Francine. And the question is, how's the collaboration built between the Museum of Bali, Indonesia and the Museum in Amsterdam? Is there any discussion regarding the collection between the two countries that should be exhibited and can be a powerful icon for the relationship of the two countries? Okay, and then the next question is how to manage them, how to manage those collection. All right, Francine, you got the question?
I do. Thank you. Well,
All right,
thank you very much for this question. We do have a relationship, well, not with the Museum Bali in Denpasar, but with Museum Puri Lukisan in Ubud, which was co-founded by Rudolf Bonnet, by the way, in 1956. The colleagues there, they receive training from my colleagues, especially training in registration and digitizing the collection. They use now the same registration system in Ubud as we do. And we also have loaned our own collection of paintings collected by Rudolf Bonnet for an exhibition in Ubud. Actually, the Puri Lukisan, the colleagues there, have shown interest in receiving the collection I was talking about in my presentation. However, the collection is owned by the Republic of Indonesia and will be returned to the Republic Indonesia. And eventually, it is up to, I think, by Hilmar to decide where the collection will go finally. Thank you.
Alright, so brief ya, your answers. Baik, adakah kerjasamanya? Baik, saya akan coba meramu sedikit untuk menerjemahkan bahwa adakah kerjasamanya ada ya dalam bentuk pelatihan, terutama untuk proses pendigitalisasian ya, bagaimana mengubahnya menjadi suatu proses digital dan juga ada beberapa koleksi yang akan dipamerkan di Ubud ya dan juga akan dikembalikan juga. Oke, baik. Oke, now sudah bergabung bersama dengan kami ya adalah Ibu Sri Hartini yang tadi mengalami kendala. Ibu Sri Hartini bisa mendengar suara saya, Ibu?
Mas, bisa.
Oke, baik. Iya, ya. Oke. Alhamdulillah Ibu sudah bergabung lagi. Baik, perlu saya ulang pertanyaannya, Ibu?
Iya.
Oke, saya ulang ya, Bu ya. Oke.
Sudah. Iya.
Sudah jelas pertanyaannya, Ibu?
Ya, saya sudah banyak mendapat banyak pertanyaan. Baik. Namun ini ada salah satu pertanyaan dari Paundra Wangsa Fajar Kusuma.
Betul, betul Ibu.
Pertanyaannya adalah, apakah Museum Indonesia dapat perkebunan Indonesia? Ya, bagaimanakah mekanismenya? Kemudian bagaimana tantangan dalam mengelola musperin karena hanya satu-satunya di Indonesia.
Betul.
Jadi Bapak Paundra, Museum Perkebunan Indonesia ini baru berusia 5 tahun berjalan ini ya. Ini merupakan sebuah museum swasta dikelola oleh sebuah yayasan, didirikan oleh seorang tokoh perkebunan Indonesia, Bapak Sujai Kartasasmita, yang mempunyai visi besar di dalam
pengembangan Museum Perkebunan Indonesia. Oleh karena itu, Museum Perkebunan ini tidak hanya untuk di Sumatera, tetapi tentu akan mengakomodir seluruh perkebunan di Indonesia. Namun demikian, karena ini museum itu tidak serta-merta dapat mencakup semuanya karena skopnya besar, oleh karena itu untuk tahap pertama ini dilakukan untuk wilayah Sumatera. Kemudian ke depan akan dilakukan untuk wilayah-wilayah yang lain, tentu saja karena mempunyai sejarah perkebunan yang cukup fantastis ya, termasuk di Jawa dan sebagainya, itu adalah punya peninggalan-peninggalannya. Kemudian bagaimana mekanismenya? Kalau sekarang ini yang kita buat adalah bagaimana menarasikan sejarah perkebunan di Indonesia. Sementara koleksi-koleksi yang kita pamerkan sementara ini adalah dari wilayah Sumatera dan nanti akan diikuti untuk perkebunan-perkebunan lainnya di Indonesia. Kemudian bagaimana tantangannya di dalam mengelola museum ini? Tentu saja karena skop Museum Perkebunan ini cukup luas, oleh karena itu tidak bisa berjalan sendiri. Oleh karena itu kita melakukan kerjasama dengan berbagai pihak, baik pemerintah maupun dengan BUMN di bidang perkebunan, asosiasi-asosiasi perkebunan, kemudian juga stakeholder lainnya, tidak hanya di dalam pengelolaannya, tetapi juga di dalam pendanaan. Karena apa? Karena Museum Perkebunan Indonesia adalah museum swasta yang harus mandiri, menghidupi diri sendiri, tidak ada supporting dari pemerintah. Demikian yang dapat saya sampaikan, Mas. Terima kasih.
Baik, Ibu Sri Hartini, terima kasih sekali. Saya kira jawabannya sangat jelas, Ibu ya. Oke. Baik, kita akan menuju ke. Alright, so we're going to go to the next question. And this is for Ruth Barnes.
Yes.
Okay, Ruth, the question is from Devan Rizky Fizal from Universitas Airlangga, Surabaya. Is there any restoration effort made by the Yale Museum for the collection from Indonesia, especially in the wayang collection, which is mostly obtained from the Surakarta Palace and also Yogyakarta? And has there been any collaboration between Yale and Surakarta Palace to carry out cultural discussion in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. It really has two aspects, and I want to address the first general one initially. We have a very well-equipped conservation department, and we also have an Institute for the Preservation of Cultural Heritage, which specializes in the analysis of materials, and so we can not only care for our objects, but we can also study them in great detail. We can find out how they were made, what they were made from, and of course, before we exhibit any of our objects, they get assessed by our conservation conservators. We train conservators in the department, and it really has a very active role in the running of the museum. Our storage facilities are excellent, and they are arranged so that visitors can have ready access to the collections with some advance notice, of course. If you make an appointment, you can look at virtually any part of our collections. Now, regarding the wayang collection, it is actually much larger than just Surakarta and Yogyakarta. It includes sets of wayang from all over Java, Bali, Lombok, and the island of Madura as well. It is very well documented by the collector, Walter Angst, who spent, he started collecting in the early 70s. We do have, as there are at least 20,000 puppets, it is still an ongoing project to document the entire collection, but we have made great progress there. We have many of our sets have been photographed. We had 3 Indonesian scholars with us at Yale studying the collection. And we have Professor Matthew Cohen, who is a well-known Wayang expert who has worked extensively in Java, is now he now has a teaching position at the University of Connecticut, which is close by to Yale, and he comes and works on our collection every week. We have not, the art gallery itself has not had direct contact with Surakarta, but Matthew Cohen certainly has contacts there. We have had His Highness the Sultan of Yogyakarta come and visit us in 2018. And he came specifically to look at our Wayang collection, and I think he enjoyed his visit hugely. He brought his own dalang and performers. We had a performance in the museum, which was an enormous success. We had to finally turn people down. We had to close the doors when we had over 200 people attending the performance. We are planning a major exhibition in 2023, 24, which will be organized by Matthew Cohen and myself. And for that, we certainly are always in contact. We are very keen to be in contact with scholars and performers and interested people from Indonesia itself. So I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ruth. Oke, baik, terima kasih Ruth. Oke, dan pertanyaan dari Devan sudah terjawab bahwa di museum di Yale University ternyata mereka memiliki tempat penyimpanan yang sangat bagus ya. Jadi Anda bisa datang langsung mengunjungi juga, dan koleksi wayangnya ternyata tidak hanya dari Jogja dan Surakarta tetapi juga ada dari Bali, Madura gitu ya. Dan mereka ternyata juga memiliki hampir 20.000. Wow. Dan itu memang sedang dalam proses dokumentasi di foto gitu ya. Oke, merujuk pada kerjasamanya ternyata juga sudah ada 3 Indonesian scholars yang sudah mengunjungi mereka, dan juga ada juga dalang dan juga performers yang tampil loh di museum itu dan disaksikan oleh hampir 200 orang. Dan nanti di tahun 2024 ya akan ada pameran yang dikelola oleh Ruth dan koleganya. Luar biasa sekali. Baik, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the next question, and I believe this is the last question. Okay, pertanyaan untuk Cynthia Handi dan datang dari Iksora dari Universitas Indonesia. Baik, seberapa jauh dampak pemanfaatan sosial media atau media sosial pada peningkatan minat generasi muda terhadap budaya dan minat untuk berinteraksi lebih lanjut dengan museum? Oke, saya kira jelas sekali pertanyaannya. Cynthia, bisa langsung dijawab.
Oke, terima kasih Mas Albert. Saya rasa dari apa yang kita lakukan di sosial media ini adalah suatu pergerakan yang harus dilakukan dan sangat bagus, karena perlu disadari bahwa sosial media ini adalah ruang tanpa batasan cuaca waktu kecuali kota ya. Karena sebenarnya di sosial media ini adalah semacam bentuk investasi buat kita, jadi bukan hanya bisa dinikmati untuk masa kini, mungkin juga ada suatu kendala ketika museum-museum aktif di dalam sosial media tapi belum bisa mendapatkan perhatian dari masyarakat. Tidak apa, it's okay, karena semua perlu waktu, karena kalau berbicara di sosial media itu adalah konsistensi, dan kami sekarang di Museum Berbagai juga masih terus untuk berinvestasi di dalam sosial media, karena tujuannya bukan untuk masa kini tapi untuk masa ke depan. Kemudian ketika misalnya ke museum sudah mendapatkan respon dari masyarakat, tapi anak-anak datang, kemudian anak-anak itu juga menjadi alasan gitu loh, kenapa sosial media ini kita harus galakan gitu kan, karena ini adalah salah satu move yang aktif gitu loh. kita masuk ke dalam dunia anak-anak yang pasti adalah sosial media. Sehingga ketika kita masuk ke dalam dunia anak-anak, ya kita harus mengalah, memang kita yang harus masuk ke dalam dunia anak-anak agar untuk mendapatkan perhatiannya. Nah, ketika sudah mendapatkan perhatiannya, bisa juga itu kadang reaksi yang diberikan oleh anak-anak tidak sesuai dengan harapan kita. Misalnya mereka datang ke museum hanya untuk foto-foto. It's okay gitu loh. Setidaknya kita mendapatkan perhatian untuk dari mereka terhadap kebudayaan, karena lagi-lagi semua perlu waktu. Walau mereka datang ke museum hanya untuk foto-foto, tapi percayalah gitu loh bahwa bagaimana menarik anak muda di dalam museum aktif itu perlu proses, yaitu proses pengenalan terlebih dahulu, perlu adanya proses bagaimana mereka mencintai, memahami, baru akhirnya mereka akan proses ke dalam ikut aktif melestarikan. Nah, saya rasa kita perlu konsistensi dalam 3 proses itu untuk bagaimana berkesinambungan, bagaimana melibatkan anak muda dalam pemajuan kebudayaan Indonesia yang berkelanjutan. Itu dari saya. Terima kasih.
Alright, luar biasa sekali ya Mbak Cynthia Handi ya. Dimulai dengan mengenal, kemudian baru bisa mencintai ya. Kayak hubungan cinta ya beneran ya. Okay. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for the last speaker also. Don't worry if your question haven't been answered. We promise that we're going to send the questions to all the speakers. And we're going to post the question and also the answers on the website jogjamuseum.org. So please stay tuned, and also please follow our Instagram account at Jogja Museums so that you have the updated information about us. And now we're going to go to the closing statement, okay, of each speaker. And saya akan mulai terlebih dahulu dengan Ibu Sri Hartini untuk menyampaikan closing statement Ibu. Silakan Ibu Sri Hartini. Baik, Ibu Sri Hartini boleh di-unmute terlebih dahulu, Bu. Oke, sudah saya bantu, boleh diklik.
Oke,
ya,
terima kasih.
Silakan. Baik.
Yang ingin saya sampaikan adalah kami dari Museum Perkebunan Indonesia mengucapkan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya atas kesempatan yang diberikan kepada Museum Perkebunan Indonesia untuk bisa tampil dalam acara seminar internasional ini. Dan selamat 50 tahun BARAHMUS, tetap jaya, terus berkarya, dan sukses selalu. Oke, semoga kita semua dapat melewati masa yang cukup berat akibat pandemi ini, dan museum di Indonesia akan terus berkembang. Sukses selalu. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Amin, Ibu, terima kasih. Saya kira harapan Ibu adalah doa yang diaminkan oleh seluruh yang ada di webinar kali ini, Ibu. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the closing statement of our second speaker in the second session, Francine Bringrave, please.
Thank you. Well, I've shown you a small part of a beautiful collection, which was created, collected, and exhibited in the 1940s. When the political relationship between Indonesia and the Netherlands was not at all easy. However, times have changed, and we do hope that this collection, which has been kept in our museum for 66 years, will return to Indonesia, its rightful owner, as soon as possible. Thank you again very much for inviting me, and we wish you and your beautiful museums all the best for at least the next 50 years to come. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Francine. Now we're going to go to Ruth Barnes, closing statement. The time is yours, Ruth.
Thank you very much. I also want to thank all of you in Yogyakarta for arranging this wonderful occasion and for bringing all of us together. It was a great pleasure. I also want to close by saying, as museum curators and scholars, we have the obligation to share our collections, and that's a very important part, that we make this accessible, that we let others take part in these great creative and beautiful objects that we have the care of. Thank you so much.
All right, Ruth, thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to the last one. Cynthia, Handi, your closing statement, please.
Thank you, Mas Albert. Selamat ulang tahun emas untuk Baramus DIY. Terima kasih kepada Baramus DIY dan juga Pak Daniel yang telah memberikan kesempatan kepada saya untuk sharing tentang apa yang kami Museum Gebuk yang kerjakan selama pandemi. Di closing statement ini, saya berharap dinamika past and future di webinar ini dapat menjadi contoh untuk permusiuman di Indonesia. Bagaimana kita semua bukan hanya berfokus mengulik masa lalu, namun harus juga diseimbangkan dengan perdokumentasian budaya masa kini atau yang kerap kita kenal sebagai budaya kamardikan. Dengan demikian, kesinambungan masa lalu dan masa kini dapat menjadi gambaran untuk masa depan sehingga pemajuan kebudayaan dapat dilakukan secara berkelanjutan. Saya juga bersama dengan anak-anak muda yang lainnya dari penjuru berbagai daerah di Indonesia juga sedang menyiapkan sesuatu dan akan segera launching sebentar lagi. Sehingga anak-anak muda akan selanjutnya siap untuk mewujudkan masa depan kebudayaan yang maju dan bermola. Last, Gebuk Wayang Museum are looking forward to collaborate with all of you in this webinar. Can't wait to build culture advancement for the past to the better future world, especially Indonesia. Thank you.
All right, well said, Cynthia. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to go to have a photo session, and after that we're going to have a conclusion from Mr. Daniel Haryo Diningrat. Okay, but before we're going to have a photo session, Bapak Ibu, kita akan berfoto bersama, kita akan mengabadikan momen ini. So please turn on your camera and smile all the time, okay? I mean during the photo session, because we don't know in which windows you are. Ya, kita nggak tahu Anda ada di Windows mana, betul ya? Baik, saya akan hitung mundur 3, 2, dan 1 in 3, 2, and 1, and kita akan ambil 2 kali. Okay, ya, Bapak Ibu. Okay, now this is the first one. Smile in 3, 2, 1, and say cheese. Oke, itu yang pertama Bapak Ibu, dan sekarang kita akan foto untuk yang kedua kalinya. Ya, saya akan hitung mundur dalam 3, 2, 1. Senyum. 3 jari kalau bisa Bapak Ibu. Oke. Terima kasih. Oke, dan jangan kemana-mana dulu. Oke, Bapak Ibu, link presensi sudah ada di chat box. Silahkan dicek. Dan selanjutnya, seperti yang sudah saya sampaikan, we're going to have the conclusion of this seminar, the first series, and I kindly invite Bapak Daniel Haryo Diningrat from Barahmus, Yogyakarta, also the director of Ulen Sentalu Museum, to deliver the conclusion. Bapak Daniel, time is yours.
Thank you so much, Albert. Hopefully my voice is so clear, and I will speak in Indonesian also. But first, I'd like to say many thank you for the outstanding speakers. We have, from many countries. That's today it's not only my happiest day, but I with my friends, my colleague in Baramus, we really thankful with your participation that make our spirit up, because during the pandemic, yes, we know that we have some difficulties with the distance, but we will not give up, and hopefully someday somehow we can make an exhibition online like a blockbuster, because we have experienced what is homecoming gamelan festival in Albert City, Solo. That's what we call as homecoming, but people must come here, but maybe we still don't know when is COVID end, so we can do together maybe through the online. Let me work together with our colleague in Baramus. First, allow me to speak in Indonesian. Pertama, saya mengucapkan terima kasih sekali pada teman-teman di Baramus ya, karena di Baramus luar biasa sehingga kita bisa saling memperkuat dan bisa membuat acara ini berlangsung dengan baik. Juga tadi itu saya sebetulnya ngintip-ngintip terus nih kapan 700-nya, kok 680, 690, turun lagi. Rasanya tuh keselibatan. Kita targetkan ini kan minimal 701 gitu aja. Kita belum bisa. Dan ya nggak apa-apa, 600 is okay. Yang pertama, saya mewakili teman-teman mengucapkan terima kasih yang sebesarnya dan sedalamnya kepada Gusti Bendoro yang di tengah kesibukan beliau yang cukup padat tetap mendampingi kami dan betul-betul total out untuk kami. Itu yang merupakan satu hiburan sekali karena selama ini kita belum pernah berkolaborasi seperti ini. Yang kedua, very thank you, terima kasih sekali kepada teman-teman di Baramus, semua memberi hati yang tulus sehingga kami bisa bekerja bebas, tidak ada friksi atau intrik atau apa, semua bisa saling mendukung, saling melengkapi apapun juga tugasnya. Dan kepada audiens, tanpa kalian semua kita tidak bisa apa-apa, dan saya akan malu sekali udah mengundang dari pembicara seluruh dunia, kok cuman sedikit, itu membuat catatan yang buruk sekali sehingga besok kalau ngajak lagi ini nggak mau gitu. Jadi terima kasih sekali, didukung sampai jam terakhir, janjinya kan 2 jam, ini kok sampai 3 jam molor ya. Kalau diputus-putus nanti malah rasanya nggak tuntas ya, jadi let it flow, dan saya percaya kita semua udah harus dinner ya, jadi setelah ini ya kita mengasuh, dan ini satu acara itu ephemeral ya, hanya sesaat, tapi semua yang udah disampaikan dalam chat box akan kita dokumentasikan, dan saya nanti Pak Hajar bagian proceeding coba kita akan pilih tampilkan, jadi bisa untuk reference selamanya, dijadikan satu buku baik digital ataupun buku cetak. Dan ya yang terutama lagi tadi saya lupa dengan Ki Bambang ya, dengan betul-betul kesabarannya membimbing dan memimpin kami semua, dan kami bisa berkarya maksimal semua untuk Baramus 50 tahun, karena Baramus oleh kita, dari kita, untuk kita juga gitu, dan untuk masyarakat Jogja, bahkan masyarakat dunia. Well, last but not least, this is not conclusion, Albert, I'm sorry, because the all speakers describe as very great topics, so I'm not deserved to say the conclusion. The conclusion is, at the end, we cannot live in independency, or maybe in the other way is independency, but we are interdependency. We are interconnected each other to make the world better place, and also we will work again like Ruth, the most senior.
Recording stopped.
Not on about the age, yeah, but most senior in the museum matter, because Ruth started from Asmolian, one of the oldest museum in the world. Yeah. Also, we have from Volkenkunde, one of the big museum in world, and also we have British Museum and so on. And yeah, we will work together like Cynthia, youngest, yeah, most youngest, the youngest in our seminar. Yeah, we shared that we hope this is not the end, but this will be continued in the future. And thank you for all of you, and God bless you. Thank you, Albert.
All right, thank you, Mr. Daniel Haryodiningrat. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for all the speakers for second session and also for the moderator. Thank you, and thank you. Baik, Bapak Ibu, terima kasih sekali sudah bergabung, dan akhirnya kita sudah ada di penghujung acara. Oke, link presensi sudah kami bagikan lewat chat box. Silahkan diklik dan diikuti setiap langkahnya. And please don't forget to follow our Instagram account @Jogja Museums, dan Anda juga bisa menyaksikan rangkaian acara Festival Museum Yogyakarta melalui website jogjamuseumexpo.com. Alright, so last but not least, I'm Albert Yuwono, and also on behalf of the committee, we would like to thank you for all the speakers and also for the audience. And we do apologize for unavoidable errors that happened during the webinar. But trust us that we are giving our best for you all. Okay, I'm Albert, and it was really an honor to serve you all, and we will see you again in the second series. Salam museum, museum di hatiku. Kita akan tutup gitu bersama-sama ya, dan mungkin Bapak Hajar Pamadi tadi yang memulai dengan salam museum, boleh dong Pak Hajar Pamadi untuk memandu dong untuk closing kita dengan salam museum, dan kita akan langsung memberikan meletakkan tangan kita ke atas dada. Pak Hajar gitu ya Pak Hajar ya. Silakan Pak Hajar, sudah saya unmute.
Oke. Salam sahabat museum, museum di hatiku.
Amin Pak, ulang sekali lagi dong Pak.
Ulangi lagi. Ya. Sahabat tua. Sahabat museum. Thank you very much. See you later.
Terima kasih everybody.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam dari Berbagai. Salam sahabat museum.
Sebagai rumah kedua museum-museum di Jogja, tempat ajang silaturahmi, tempat berbagi informasi tentang museum-museum di Jogja. Hari ini, tanggal 7 Agustus 2021, tepat hari kelahiran Baramus ke-50. Selamat ulang tahun Baramus, semoga sukses dan jaya.
Saya Gatot Nugroho, selaku Kepala Museum, mewakili seluruh keluarga besar Museum Memorial Jenderal Sudirman Soekarno, mengucapkan selamat hari ulang tahun emas 50 tahun Badan Musyawarah Museum Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta.
Kami, keluarga besar Museum Jenderal Besar Sudirman, mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun Baramus ke-50 tahun 2021.
Saya Suharja beserta seluruh keluarga besar Museum Benteng Berdebak Yogyakarta dan Museum Perjuangan Jakarta mengucapkan selamat menapaki usia yang ke-50 tahun kepada Badan Musyawarah Museum Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta.
Museum DNAD dan Mancanegara mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun Baramus ke-50.
Kami dari Museum Budaya mengucapkan
selamat ulang tahun Baramus DIY ke-50.
Museum Gumuk Pasir mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun yang ke-50 untuk Badan Musyawarah Museum Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta.
Genap staf dan pimpinan Akademi Museum mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun yang ke-50 Baramus Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta.
Kami dari Museum Pancasila Sakti mengucapkan selamat hari ulang tahun Baramus DIY ke-50.
Saya mewakili keluarga besar Museum Dewan Barat Indonesia dan Mahasiswa, dirgahayu Badan Musyawarah Museum.
Saya Surahman, inisiator pendiri Museum Benda inisiator pendiri Museum Pasir ya, mengaturkan selamat hari ulang tahun Baramus 50 tahun kenapa.
Saya Anak Dinarto, Museum Monumen Sejarah Bali, mengucapkan dirgahayu Baramus Badan Musyawarah Museum Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta yang ke-50.
Museum Sono Budoyo mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun emas kepada Baramus DIY.
Saya Letnan 2 Armet Suharta, Kepala Museum Monumen Pakaran Diponegoro, mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun Baramus yang ke-50 tahun hari jadi ulang tahun emas.
Kami keluarga besar Museum Dr. Yaya Prawiro sudah mengucapkan
selamat hari jadi ke-50 tahun Baramus DIY.
Museum Pendidikan Indonesia Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun Baramus ke-50. Semoga semakin maju, semakin jaya, selamat dan sukses. Dirgahayu Baramus.
Saya Kolonel Susitono, Kepala Museum Pusat TNI Angkatan Udara Dirgantara Mandala, mengucapkan selamat
hari ulang tahun ke-50 Baramus DIY.
Selamat kepada Baramus, semoga Baramus tetap berkembang, jaya, dan selalu museum di hati.
Kami dari Museum Sama Benda mengucapkan selamat ulang tahun emas kepada Baramus DIY yang ke-50 tahun.
Museum Wayang Kekayaan Yogyakarta mengucapkan selamat, dirgahayu, dan turut berbangga, turut berbahagia menjadi bagian dari Barahmus DIY selama ini.
50 tahun Barahmus DIY, jaya!
Selamat memperingati ulang tahun emas Barahmus 7 Agustus 2021 dan Hari Museum Nasional 12 Oktober 2021. Sukses untuk Museum Indonesia. Museum Indonesia untuk semua, Museum Indonesia untuk dunia. Salam museum, museum di hatiku.